Hey, what's up, guys? I don't know. I really don't know if this is even working yet, so I'm just waiting. Oh, there we go. I can see myself on the on my monitor. I'm really sorry we are a bit late starting. I did get everything set up, but I have to have a monitor laptop to see your questions. And it has a MacBook here, as you can see, but for whatever reason, this piece of shit won't connect to the internet. So I have to quickly run and grab laptop number 2 so that I can see what you guys are basically asking me. And this stream's lagged out, so let me know in the chat, guys, if you can hear me okay and if you can see me okay, if everything's working all right. I haven't done too many live streams, so I just want to make sure everything's going to be working okay before we kick off. Let me know in the chat, guys, if you can hear me. This might not be working. There's a few people in there, but no one's responding. Can you guys hear me okay? If you can hear me or if you can see me, please give me a shout out in the live chat on YouTube so I know everything's okay. Great. Cheers, guys. I'm only asking because my monitor laptop, the stream's lagged out. Oh, there we go. So it's fucking fight day and everything's working great. Finally here. So we are about, as you can see on this countdown clock, just under 7 hours away from when the event kicks off for live betting, but I think it starts about an hour and a half or 2, maybe actually it's 4 fights on the early prelims for this card, so that means the event should start in around 4 to 4.5 hours from now, so plenty of time to do a nice stream, go through all these fights, look for some prop bets, and it's fucking fight day. Anyone else excited? I am fucking buzzing. I cannot wait for this. So what I'm going to do, I am going to just let the questions in the live chat rack up. If you've got anything you want to ask me about the fights tonight or about bankroll management, money management, betting, anything at all, which betting sites to use, anything you want to ask, anything at all, ask them in the live chat as I'm going through these fights. And then I will get to them after we go through each of these fights here. Also, what else do I want to say? Also, I've been waiting to get approval from iTunes for weeks and weeks and weeks now. I've finally had approval this week. So I know the videos I put out are long, but I try and keep them as short as I can, but it's really hard. I just got so much to say about every fight. So it's hard for me to shorten the length of the videos. And I know it's a pain in the ass because I quite like long form content. I listen to loads of long form content when I'm out driving or tidying the house up, picking the kids up from school, that kind of thing. But it is obviously hard to sit in front of a computer for 2-3 hours a week and listen to stuff on YouTube. And even if you're running the videos in the background on your phone, it's going to kill your phone battery because YouTube obviously won't let you minimize and still listen to the audio. So this week I did get approved by iTunes. So if you go to the podcast app on your iPhone, you can now search for, if you search for The Moneycast, bam, there we are. You can see us right here. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but The Moneycast, you click into it, and there's all the episodes from UFC 236. And now, as we start to pump out, videos for the next events, I'll always put the audio on this podcast. It's called The Moneycast because I think I've said a few times in the past, I don't just want to make this about MMA because at the end of the day, in life, you read a lot of investment books. You should always have your cash cow. And the way I look at it is, betting on MMA is my cash cow. It's my bread and butter. What helps me earn money. But then I take the money I earn from gambling and pump it into other things, businesses, crypto, investments, whatever. So the podcast is called The Moneycast because in time I want to start doing more content around crypto, investing, interviewing people, getting guests on, that kind of thing. So the Moneycast just opens it up a little bit and stops it being so specific to MMA. So check that out on iTunes. Obviously, it'll make it easier for you to listen to it. And I've killed a bit of time now just to let the room fill up a little bit so that we can jump into these fights so no one misses anything. So, yeah, Angry Posh Gamer, I'll definitely leave it up, mate. No problem. It will be up. Sometimes YouTube take like 20-30 minutes to publish it to the channel page, but we should be done well before let the event start at 11:30. So let's jump into the first fight, which is going to be Brandon Davis against Randy Costa. But before we get Before we get, yeah, good luck to you as well, and good Posh Gamer Man. I really appreciate it. I will catch you soon, mate. Have a good night. I hope the emergency's not too serious as well, man. I should also say as well that because this is live, where is he? Caesar! Caesar! Come here, Caesar. I've got a Shih Tzu which is likely to go crazy at some time during the live stream, so sorry if he starts barking outside. It's quite busy at the moment. It's only 7 PM over here in the UK, and it's a really nice kind of like summer's night. As you can see in the background, there's kids playing and stuff out in the street, people getting like takeaways for food and stuff. So if the dog goes crazy, I am really sorry. I think my wife and my kid are also going to come home at some point as well, so they'll probably interrupt things. But so I am sorry if it's a little bit professional. But it is prime time on a Saturday night, and thank you for being here instead of watching American Idol or some shit with Ant and Dec. It means a lot. So let's, before we get into talking about prop bets for this fight, I really just want to make a point that's really important for prop bets. So a lot of people have a really rigid strategy when it comes to betting, where they will recommend that whenever you place a bet, you should work in units, and 1 unit should equal 1% of your bankroll. But over time, I've just found, you know, I've been doing this for close to 10 years now, and I've just found that it doesn't really work for me personally, because there's lots of different types of bets. So for example, live betting, you know, if you're good at live betting, you can maintain a very high win rate and make way more money than you would from traditional types of betting. So you can afford to be a bit looser and a bit aggressive and not have to follow that rigid bankroll strategy method as tightly. You could be a lot more loose. But at the same time, on the other end of the spectrum with prop bets, because they are so specific to outcomes of a fight, you're going to lose a lot more of them. Variance is going to be much higher. So it isn't really appropriate to use, you know, 1% of your bankroll to a 1 unit system, because you need to be much more cautious with prop bets. So you've kind of got a spectrum. You've got, you know, I do agree that that's a very good system for traditional pre-fight money line betting, whether you're betting on, you know, a guy to win or lose, Max Holloway to win or Dustin Poirier to win. But live betting, you could be more aggressive if you're good at it. If not, you can get destroyed. Whereas prop bets, no matter how good you are at betting on MMA, no matter how much research and how knowledgeable you are, you need to be more careful, because on any given night you could place 20 prop bets and lose all of them. Even if you know more about MMA than anyone else, even if you're the best MMA gambler in the world, variance is very high because you're betting on highly specific things. So it's really important to bear that in mind. You know, if you've got $100 to basically bet on this card, you know, it would be okay perhaps if you want to mix things up a little bit to bet like $10, $20 on Adesanya or Holloway or whoever you want to bet on. But you certainly wouldn't want to be betting $10, $20 of your $100 total on a prop bet, because the variance is just so high you could get wrecked. So be very, very careful. I personally treat prop bets. I mean, I don't personally place prop bets myself because the max bet limits are very low. It's just not worth it. But if you are going to place prop bets, just make sure that it's a small amount of your overall money. Like, I wouldn't even advocate, if you've got $100 to bet, that you stick to. I wouldn't advocate if you've got $100 that you would go and bet $10 or $20 on a fighter, because that's like 10-20% of your money. I would recommend you personally stick to the 1%, 1 unit equals 1% method, and grind your money up slowly. But I know 99% of you don't want to do that. So, you know, all I'm saying is work in proportions. Don't be too aggressive. Don't ever commit too much of your money on one event, otherwise you'll get wrecked. So be very, very careful with prop bets, guys. If I had $100 to bet with for this event, and I was looking at placing a prop bet on every fight to make things more interesting, I would only be betting 50 cents or 50p to $1 or £1, €1, whatever on these prop bets, because they're really risky. They're a very powerful tool for, you know, building a bankroll quickly, because some of the payoffs on the prop bets are very attractive. But at the same time, because variance is so big, you will get big swings with them. You'll go on massive losing streaks, massive winning streaks. And really, if you want to make money from gambling, if you're serious about making money from gambling, you need to avoid swings. This game is not about being the smartest guy in the bar or hitting huge parlays or huge accumulators or huge underdog bets and prop bets. It's not about that. It's about consistently making money as often as you can every single week, because even if you only make a little bit every week, every consecutive week that you're winning, you can afford to bet a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and that's how you can grow your money into a much larger amount. So I just want to get that out the way. Prop bets are very risky because they lead to big swings and they kill the rate at which you can compound your profits. Doesn't matter how good you are, there will be big swings. So just bear that in mind, guys. I'm gonna try and recommend a decent prop bet for every single one of these fights. But at the same time, they could quite easily all lose. They could quite easily all win. Expect to see some variance. So with that being said, let's jump right in and see if we can find some decent value, juicy props to hopefully help you in some cash tonight. Now, my strategy for prop bets is perhaps a little bit different from a lot of people. So because the variance is so high on prop bets, you need to get a decent payout for the risk you're putting up. So, you know, when sometimes you see prop bets that are only a little bit better than money line odds, those are the kind of bets I'm not interested in. I'm looking for the really big payoffs. So let's jump into the first fight. Brandon Davis against Randy Costa. So this is the first time that I'm looking at props for this card. There's no preparation done at all. I'm firing straight from the hip. But straight away, a bet that I do like, that again speaks to my kind of mindset over prop bets. You should be going for high risk, high reward bets, where if it wins, you get a great payout. Those are the kind of bets you should be looking at. And a bet that I'm interested in is Brandon Davis to win in round 3. Now that's disappointing. The odds aren't as good as I would hope them to be. But the reason why I think Brandon Davis to win in round 3 might be a good bet, I mean, if we put it into the implied probability calculator, that is an implied probability of 8%. And I think that is a cheeky little prop bet, to be honest with you. That's the kind of prop bet that I like. Because if we think about it, if we bring their records up here. So Randy Costa is making his UFC debut. Very inexperienced. He's only had 4 pro fights. And if you were to watch my breakdown video for that fight, literally his entire pro MMA career came to like 4 or 5 minutes of actual competitive MMA cage time. And then obviously the majority of his amateur fights ended very quickly as well. So very inexperienced fighter. This is a guy who's used to going in there, taking his opponents out early and really having an easy night's work. But as we know, Brandon Davis is very tough. He's a Muay Thai coach. He's had 14 pro MMA fights, and within that time, he has never been finished with strikes. So Brandon Davis is extremely tough. We know he's got a good chin. We've seen him in some wars. His cardio is very good. The reason why I think Brandon Davis to win in round 3 is a decent bet here is because we don't know anything about Randy Costa's cardio, but we do know that in all his past fights, he's come out very aggressively. He's come out sprinting. And obviously it's hard to sprint for 15 minutes without gassing out. So this could be a classic example of, you know, a young guy, only 24 years old, making his UFC debut, might come out, start fast, adrenaline dump, gas out, and then Brandon Davis can take over later on in the fight and potentially get a late finish. Now, I don't like Davis to win in round 2 because the odds aren't going to be as good, and because Randy Costa does look quite dangerous in the first round, and it will probably take him, you know, a little bit of time to slow down. And also Brandon Davis isn't particularly dangerous. He's more of a volume striker than a knockout guy. Not really dangerous with submissions either. You see the majority of his fights have gone to a decision when he's faced a higher level of opponent in the UFC. But if you go back and watch the fight against Austin Arnett on Dana White's Contender Series, you'll see that when Brandon Davis settles into a rhythm and finds his groove, he hasn't got to worry about guys taking him down. He's a very high volume striker, very technical. He can rack up a very, very large percentage of strikes in a round. And Randy Costa wouldn't have experienced that before. So I do think that's a cheeky little prop bet that I would go for. Again, it's a lot of risk. There's a lot of other ways this fight could play out. But a 13.0, which is plus 1,200, that's the kind of prop bet I like. Loads of risk, but loads of reward. Because there's 12 fights on this card, right? The way I look at this is, if you hit this bet, you can afford to place a prop bet on every single fight on this card at level stakes. And as long as this bet were to win, you'd break even. If any other bet win, it would put you in profit. Obviously, it's a lot of risk, but these are the kind of bets that I really like. And then if we look at is there anything else out there? Let's take a look. Costa winning round 1. Don't like it too much. Davis is super tough. I would stick with that, guys. I think that the best prop on there is probably Brandon Davis to win in round 3. Wouldn't really go up with anything else. I don't like these points handicap prop bets. We'll leave those out. I won't really be talking about them because, as you can see, they're only really offered on a very small selection of websites. It's only Sportsbet and 5 Dimes that offer them. Hardly any European betting sites offer these, so we'll just ignore these because only a small amount of people watching this will be able to bet them anyway. So we'll just stick to the traditional props. So if we move on to the next fight, which is Laura Mueller against Poliana Botelho, let's take a look at this. Obviously, it's a women's MMA fight, so straight away you want to be thinking about, you know, the fight to go the distance, because a massive percentage of women's MMA fights do go the distance. And I would suggest we look at what the decision odds are on this. So, oh, that's actually quite shocking, actually. So Poliana Botelho is a moderate favourite over Laura Mueller, but both girls' odds to win by decision are roughly the same. So that's a no-brainer, guys. I think Botelho to win by decision at those odds are around about 3.0 is quite a decent bet, actually. I do like that. Yeah, that gives her an implied probability of 33%. To be honest, Botelho's not that dangerous. I know that she's got, if we look at her record, I know that she won one of her recent fights by body kick TKO. It was against an Asian girl. Can't quite remember her name. I'll wait for that to load. Suri Kondo. Suri Kondo's very tough, but you know, if we look at the rest of her fights, you know, she went to a decision against Pearl Gonzalez, went to round 4 against Silvana Gomez Juarez, round 3 against Karina Rodriguez, went the distance with Viviane Pereira. It's not like she's abnormally dangerous for a flyweight, and Laura Mueller's pretty tough as well, or strawweight, sorry. Laura Mueller's pretty tough. You know, primarily a striker, decent boxer. She's got a boxing advantage. Both girls are striking, so it's unlikely this fight will go to the ground, in which case Mueller could be in some trouble because she's got a very low-level ground game. That's a nice, simple one, guys. I actually think that Botelho to win by decision, those odds are very generous at 3.0. I would take that. That's a cheeky little prop bet. So then if we go into the next fight, which is going to be Andre Sukumtar against Montel Jackson, straight away the way that I would see this fight going, the most likely outcome in this fight would be Montel Jackson to win by decision, but I'm guessing that the odds on that are going to be shit. Let's just take a look. So Jackson to win by decision, 2.26. That's very surprising considering he's such a big favourite. I think the bookies, the odds makers, are being quite generous with the way they're capping the odds on these prop bets. You know, Montel Jackson has a huge advantage when it comes to grappling, but not particularly dangerous, I guess. Obviously, he's got a lot of finishes inside the distance, but they were against a really low level of opponent. You know, he beat Sean Huffman by knockout, but Huffman had a 20-36 record, went the distance with Terence Almond. You know, he got a win due to a cut in the fight against Jesse Wanmaker, but Wanmaker very inexperienced, so is Darren McCant. Went the distance when he faced it, or didn't go the distance, but went into round 3 when he faced a step-up in competition on the Dana White's Contender Series when he fought Rico DiSulo. Went the distance with Ricky Simone, and he hurt Brian Kelleher very bad early in this fight and won by submission. But we know Andre Sukumtar, even though he's got bad takedown defense and quite a low-level ground game, he is extremely tough. If we look through his last few fights, vast majority of them have gone the distance. So in his last 5 fights, 4 of them have gone the distance against a really decent level of opponent as well. These guys, you know, Jonathan Martinez is decent, O'Malley's decent, Alejandro Perez and Albert Morales, those guys are no joke. So I think those odds are quite generous, guys, to be honest with you, to try and double your money. Jackson to win by decision, I do like it. Sukumtar's tough. Jackson should be able to just use his Olympic-level wrestling to grind Sukumtar out. And considering Jackson's such a big favourite, they're very, very generous odds. Normally, I don't like to bet prop bets unless the payoff's big. I much prefer those Brandon Davis, Randy Costa type ones where the payoff's big. But the odds on Botelho and Jackson to win by decision are really, 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 really generous, to be honest with you. So then we go on to Belal Muhammad against Curtis Melender, which is a fight that you've probably got some money on already if you've watched my breakdown for this fight. I think Belal Muhammad's one of the best bets of the year so far, to be honest with you, and his odds have got steamed today. When I put that breakdown video out, I think it was last week, he was around about a 1.85 favourite, which is minus 118. But today he's at around about an average of 1.67, which is minus 149. So he beat the line movement nicely on Belal, and rightly so. I think he's definitely one of the best bets of the year, win or lose. But to think about this fight from a prop betting perspective, so I don't like Muhammad to win by decision that much, to be honest with you, at 2.47 to 2.70, simply because if you did bet him last week when I recommended that you bet him, there's not that much of a difference between the odds that you would have got him at around about 1.81 to 1.85 compared to 2.47. So you're not really gaining anything by betting Muhammad by decision. The numbers are quite small, to be honest with you. But I am interested to see what Muhammad to win by submission would be, because as we know, Melender's ground game is at an extremely low level. The problem with these kinds of bets is, I think that if Belal Muhammad fights smart tonight and goes straight to his grappling with a really wrestling heavy game plan and takes Melender down, I think he's just absolutely going to dominate. I think it's just such an easy fight for Muhammad. Obviously, sometimes fighters don't do that for whatever reason. They choose to get into a kickboxing match instead. But if Muhammad goes to his wrestling, he's going to absolutely murk Melender. This is an easy fight for him. He could win 30-24 on the scorecards if it goes the distance. Now, the problem with this is, even though Melender is extremely susceptible on the ground, it's kind of like 50-50 whether Belal could get a finish with ground and pound or by submission, if that makes sense, because it's much safer to just chip away at your opponent with ground and pound than to risk giving up a dominant position chasing a submission. So the odds on Muhammad to win by submission are 5.22, which is decent. Ooh, you've got to be kidding me. What the fuck? Guys, we found a fucking prop bet for this fight. Belal Muhammad to win by knockout or TKO, 16.0. Are you fucking serious right now? So obviously, it's unlikely that Muhammad would KO Melender in a traditional sense. Unlikely, because Melender's a much higher level striker, Belal not particularly dangerous striking. But the knockout or TKO prop bet also covers a finish on the ground due to ground and pound. And Muhammad, if you were to watch the video that I put out for this fight, has got very, very heavy ground and pound. Now, as you can see on other betting sites, the odds are half that, which just illustrates how inaccurate these odds are. So if you've got a 5 dimes or a sports bet account, I would be all over this. This is fucking value all day. Those odds are so inaccurate. These odds I don't like so much, but then this site Intertops, which I've never heard of, have got it at 11.0. So what I would say is, guys, for this fight, if you go on your betting site, Muhammad to win by knockout or TKO is 10.0 or better, which would be plus 900. So if it's 10.0 or plus 900 or better, bet Belal Muhammad to win by knockout or TKO. If it's less than that, just pass. There's not a great amount of value there. But those odds are absolutely crazy, to be honest with you. That's fucking shocking. 5 dimes need to do their homework. I'm guessing whichever donut or whatever muppet has set the line there is just thought, oh, well, Belal Muhammad's not that dangerous standing. You know, Curtis Melender's a much higher level striker. There's no chance Belal Muhammad would knock him out. Whereas they've missed the point because they don't realise if Belal finishes Melender on the ground with ground and pound, that's a TKO win, which is very possible. So that's our prop bet for that one, guys. But there's nothing else I like that much, if I'm honest with you. If you can't get those type of odds, 10.0 plus 900 or better. But that's fine, because you should already have money on Belal anyway. So you've got action on that fight. So then the next fight that we're going to go into, Boston Salmon against Khalid Taha. Let's take a little look-see at this one. Let's take a little look-see at this one, shall we? Let's take a look. Because there's so much we don't know about these guys, I am reluctant to advise a prop bet on this fight. Really am. I mean, I would recommend passing this fight, if I'm honest with you guys, just because there's such a big question mark over both of them. My favourite prop out of all of them, if you absolutely have to bet this fight, is Taha to win by decision, but I don't love it. I love the odds on Botelho to win by decision. Love the odds on Jackson to win by decision. I don't love the odds on Taha to win by decision. I would recommend that you give this fight a miss. Go order a pizza, make yourself a sandwich, get a toilet break. But this fight is really hard to nail down a prop bet for, because if we bring their record up, both guys have got some issues at the moment, right? So we know Khalid Taha has got very, very bad takedown defense. But Boston Salmon never really goes to his wrestling, so it might not matter anyway. Boston Salmon said he's the best boxer in the UFC. I mean, I'm not personally seeing that, but Boston Salmon might be one of these stubborn guys that just wants to keep a fight standing and prove a point, which is possible. If that happens, I think that could get him into trouble. So I actually think Khalid Taha is the better striker. Boston Salmon's got much more of a traditional kickboxing style, but Khalid Taha just throws a much more diverse range of strikes, nice sharp technique, nice pop on his shots, a really nice technical Muay Thai style. So I do favour Taha if this fight stays standing, but his takedown defense is so bad that it's tricky to trust him. In many ways, this fight is kind of like Belal Muhammad versus Curtis Melender, where Khalid Taha is the better striker here, just like Curtis Melender is. And Boston Salmon can win this fight easily, just like Belal Muhammad can win this fight easily if they go to their wrestling, though. Some guys, for whatever reason, want to prove a point and win a kickboxing match because they're stubborn or for whatever reason, and that could get them into trouble. Obviously, Belal Muhammad, we see him shoot at least one takedown in almost every single round of his UFC fights, so it's much more likely that he'll go to his wrestling tonight against Melender, whereas Boston Salmon never ever shoots a takedown really, even though he's got a decent heavy top game. When we have seen him on the ground, it tends to be as a result of a knockdown or because his opponent has slipped or something like that. So Taha by decision if you absolutely must bet this fight, but I don't love it. Do not love it at all, because Boston Salmon can win easily if he goes to a takedown. But what is Salmon to win by decision? Just don't love the odds. I don't love the odds, guys. I gotta be honest, I don't love the odds. And I don't want to bet Salmon to win by decision just because the odds aren't as good. And if he is stubborn and does keep this fight standing, like I think he will, Taha is the better bet in a stand-up fight. So that's a complicated fight. I don't like it at all. So let's go into the next matchup between Max Griffin and Zalim Imadaev. So I was hoping that the odds would have improved on Max Griffin a bit more than this week, but they haven't. He's still currently around about even money. I wanted to bet Max Griffin, but I wanted to get him at like 2.30 to 2.40, which would be plus 130 to plus 140, and he's just never really got there. I would love to bet Max Griffin in this fight. I think he's going to win. My only concern is his takedown defense is really, really bad. And because we haven't seen Imadaev go to his wrestling that much in his past fights, you know, all his fights that have gone to the ground have been because of knockdowns or crazy scrambles or because he's been taken down. If Imadaev were to come in with a grappling heavy game plan tonight, and if he has got a decent level of wrestling, I think he can cause Max Griffin some problems. But having said that, from a betting point of view, Griffin to win by decision, 3.75. That's not bad. Again, I don't love it as much as Botelho, and I don't love it as much as Jackson, because again, there are so many questions over Imadaev. Again, using the same rationale for betting Brandon Davis to win in round 3, Max Griffin to win in round 3 is also interesting to me, but as we know, these fucking Russians are tough as hell. They are always difficult to finish. They've always got decent cardio and they've always got a decent chin. So again, I don't love Griffin to win in round 3. I would avoid that. I think the best bet here, again, if you absolutely must bet this fight, is Griffin to win by decision at around 3.75 to 3.0. But again, I don't love it as much as the Batalio and Jackson bets, just because there's so much that we don't know about Imadeyev. But if there's no way I'd bet Imadeyev, he didn't look that great in the past fights that I saw from him. But again, Griffin's takedown defense is a big concern here. But I would take Griffin by decision if you absolutely want to bet this fight. Then we've got Alexandre Pantoja against Wilson Rice. So, God, I hate to be boring and go for all the decision lines. So there's 2 bets that I would consider on this fight for prop betting. The two bets I would consider are Pantoja to win by knockout or TKO, simply because Wilson Rice gets rocked, dropped or wobbled in pretty much all of his fights, or Pantoja to win by decision, which I probably like a little bit more, to be honest with you. My problem with Pantoja to win by decision is that there's not a massive difference between his odds to win by decision, especially if you've got to bet him on some of the sites that have got it around about 2.50, which is plus 150, compared to just betting his money line at 1.67, which I believe is about minus 1... I don't know, I have to calculate it. Minus 149. I need to learn these money line odds off the top of my head so I can say them fast. It's easy to do the underdog ones, not so easy to do the favourites. So both these guys are grapplers. So Pantoja's not particularly dangerous striking, even though Rice is chinny. So let's not go with a knockout or TKO line. Let's not go with that. God, I don't like the odds on Pantoja to win by decision though, guys. Again, if you absolutely have to bet this fight, I would take Pantoja by decision, just because both guys are primarily grapplers, and even though Pantoja's at a much higher level on the ground, Wilson Rice is also a high-level grappler. He knows how to defend himself. He's not as good offensively as Pantoja, but he knows how to defend himself in positions that Pantoja might put him into. And with Pantoja tending to slow down as the fight progresses, he does become significantly less dangerous in rounds 2 and 3. But I still think he gets it done. So if you absolutely have to bet a prop bet here, go for Pantoja by decision. But depends on what the odds are on your betting site. You'd probably just be better off to bet Pantoja straight, to be honest with you. So then on to the next fight, which is Jalen Turner against Matt Frivola. And the bet that I'm interested in is, the odds again aren't great. They are not great at all, guys. They are not great. So the bet that I was interested in was Turner to win by knockout or TKO. But again, around about 2.35. And if you've got to take that at 2.20, 2.15 on betting sites, some betting sites, there's really no point in betting that prop because the odds aren't that different from his money line. So the shit odds. Alright, I wouldn't bother with Turner by knockout or TKO. There's not that big of a difference. I don't see this fight going the distance either. If this fight goes the distance, it'll be because Frivola won by decision. I don't see Turner being able to win a decision if I'm getting tied up in knots. I just don't see Frivola being able to survive standing with Turner. The size difference is too big, and his striking defense is just way too bad, and Turner's a very dangerous striker. What I would say, guys, if I'm not going to bring it up here, usually in my videos I would bring up kind of like video evidence to add weight to the stuff I'm saying. But because I'm live streaming this, if I were to play a YouTube video on this live stream now, it's just going to lag the stream up bad. But I would recommend going and checking out the weigh-ins from yesterday to see the stare down between Turner and Frivola. Turner's got a massive size advantage over Frivola, similar to what Adesanya's got over Gastelum, and it will not be easy for Frivola to overcome that. So I'm reluctant to bet Frivola in any kind of prop bet, if I'm honest with you. Again, I don't love Turner to win in round 1 at these odds. Tough. I'm not liking any of these props. So I feel on some of the fights, the bookies have capped them wrong, the prop bets, but I feel like on this particular fight, they've got it pretty accurate. Do you know what, guys? If you really want to bet this fight, I would say the best prop bet is over 1.5 rounds, just because Frivola's tough as hell, and if he goes to his wrestling, ties Turner up, makes him work in the clinch, makes him defend takedowns, gets a couple takedowns, runs the clock down, I could see this fight going the distance, or going deep at least. So even money over 1.5 rounds, probably the best bet on that fight, but I don't love it just because Frivola's Frivola's striking defense is so bad. Turner is very dangerous, especially with his size difference. So sorry to be boring, but this is one of the reasons why I don't love prop bets that much. You don't always get that much more value compared to a fighter's money line odds. Like, what's the point in betting Turner by knockout or TKO when there's not that much of a difference in his odds just betting him straight? So the next fight, Nikita Krylov versus Ovin St. Preux. Lots of ways I could see this fight playing out. So St. Preux, what's St. Preux to win in round 1? 4.0 to 5.0. Interesting. What's Krylov to win by decision? 6.0. What's St. Preux to win by submission? 3.25. Oh, okay. Actually, guys, there's a decent prop on this fight. I think the best prop on this fight would be St. Preux to win by knockout or TKO. And using the example of the Curtis Melender fight against Belal Muhammad, I do like this bet because St. Preux obviously carries an enormous amount of power in his strikes. So he could knock Nikita Krylov out if the fight stays standing. He's got a legit one-punch KO power with every punch and kick that he throws. But at the same time, we know that St. Preux's path to victory here is to take this fight to the ground. And again, if he does take Nikita Krylov down, we know Krylov's at a very low level on the ground. St. Preux could get a win by ground and pound, which would also mean the fight would this bet would win because it would be a TKO win. So I think there's a decent amount of value on St. Preux to win by knockout or TKO there. Obviously, some sites have got it around about 5.50, which is fine. I still like it at those odds. But at these odds, that would give that an implied probability of 15%. And I really like that. I'd probably cap it closer to 30% if I'm honest with you. So a good amount of value there on that. That is a cheeky little bet, St. Preux to win by knockout or TKO. And again, I think the bookies have added extra value in there because they're not considering that not only can St. Preux knock him out standing, but he can also get a finish with ground and pound. They're overlooking that. So that's a mistake they're making. So the next fight, Alan Jouban against Dwight Grant. So the odds have flip-flopped on this fight. I actually wanted to bet Dwight Grant straight, but I was hoping to get him at like 2.20 or better, which would be plus 120 or better. But today his odds have declined. He's now the favourite, so the opportunity has gone. But the prop bet that I would be interested in betting here, and I'm going to call it out and you should go with it, guys, is Dwight Grant to win by knockout or TKO at 2.73 to 2.60. I would take that. Alan Jouban at this stage in his career is very fragile. If we look at the record of both guys, let's bring it up. So Alan Jouban is now 37 years old. He's had over 20 pro fights, but a very high percentage of those 20 pro fights have been absolute wars. And we've seen him rocked, dropped, wobbled or knocked out in pretty much all of his fights in the UFC, apart from the fights against Brendan Riley and Richard Walsh. Every single one of his fights turned into a war. And as we know, Dwight Grant hits extremely hard. Very heavy-handed. Not a particularly technical striker, but a very high percentage of his wins have come by knockout. So we can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of his 11 career wins of 6 of his 11 career fights have ended by knockout or TKO. Alan Jouban's very chinny, gets wobbled very easily, and as we know, Dwight Grant really sits down hard on his power shots and fully commits to his punches. If he lands clean and hard on Jouban, I think he's going to knock him out. So I would take that one for sure. The odds aren't great, but I do think that's the most likely outcome in that fight. So now we're getting up to the business end of the card. Only 3 left to go until we start to go through all your questions on the Q&A. Oh, Jesus, 100 people watching, man. Shout out to everyone. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, guys. My voice is going. We move into the next fight. Eric Anders against Khalil Roundtree. So I'm actually interested to see how Roundtree looks for this fight, because when I put out the breakdown for this fight, there was something I didn't mention in the breakdown because I didn't want to speak too soon or out of turn. But basically, Roundtree's never really had very good fight IQ. So Roundtree's striking is amazing. I really legitimately think that the Roundtree is one of the best technical strikers in the light heavyweight division. But his problem is that obviously his takedown defense and ground game is so bad that he just cannot keep a fight standing long enough to use it. But Roundtree is one of those really frustrating guys who has actually got good takedown defense, but there's like an asterisk next to that. What I mean by that is when his opponents first shoot in on him, he actually does an excellent job of stuffing the initial takedown attempt. He uses the correct technique. He does all the right things. But for them, whatever reason, he'll have like a lapse in concentration or take his eye off the ball and just make a mistake. So, for example, Roundtree, when his opponent shoots in, he'll do a really good job of creating a wide base and getting underhooks in play early. But rather than focusing on maintaining those underhooks and preventing his opponent from connecting their hands together around his hips, you'll see him start to go for strikes or elbows or something instead of focusing on defending the takedown. And then that ultimately leads to his opponent being able to complete the takedown. But I've always felt like if Roundtree just made tiny little adjustments, he'd be a bit of a force in the light heavyweight division, to be honest with you. Because if this guy develops good takedown defense, he's a bit of a nightmare standing. But also hasn't always struck me as the smartest guy making the smartest career choices. You know, he trains at not the best gyms, to be honest with you, in Las Vegas. Not the best places to basically go and develop high-level takedown defense. You know, you'd love to see him go train somewhere like American Top Team, which would help him develop those skills. And when I was researching this fight, and then when I put out part 3 of the breakdown videos where I discussed this fight, I always go on the fighters' social media profiles to kind of gauge where they've been training, who they've been training with, how their training may be going. And when I went on Roundtree's Instagram and Twitter pages, they were just pictures of him in Thailand, like riding elephants and shit. And I was like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Like, I'm not being funny, but if your weakness is takedown defense in your ground game, why the fuck are you going to Thailand to train like Muay Thai? Like, your striking's already legit. Like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And he basically said he went to Thailand because he lost to Johnny Walker in the clinch. He was knocked out in the clinch position. So he felt like Thailand was the best place to go to develop his clinch skills, which I agree with. But your deficiencies in the clinch are nowhere near as bad as your deficiencies with takedown defense and your ground game. So fucking focus on that. And I was like, Roundtree, what are you doing, man? Like, you fucked up. Why are you going to some stupid fucking Muay Thai gym in Thailand for? That's not where you should be going. But then everything changed when he revealed in his fight week interviews on Thursday, which was like several days after I put out part 3 of the breakdown videos, that he was actually training at Tiger Muay Thai, which changes everything. Tiger Muay Thai is one of the best MMA gyms in the world. I know it's called Tiger Muay Thai, but they should change the name of their gym to Tiger MMA, because the guys that train at that gym are fucking legit. Almost all fighters that train at Tiger Muay Thai for any prolonged period of time have incredible takedown defense and very technical striking. So I went from rolling my eyes at Roundtree and thinking you made a really poor choice to actually thinking, fair play to you, mate. You've fucking made a very good decision here. Like, you've literally possibly identified your takedown defense and ground game isn't the best. So you've actually gone to one of the best gyms in the world to tighten up that deficiency. So I'm very interested to see how Roundtree looks tonight. Because if Roundtree comes out with decent takedown defense, I think Eric Anders is fucked, to be honest with you. I think he's fucked. And I'm very, very interested to see what happens. If you want to basically see for yourself what trainer Tiger Muay Thai can do for you, I would recommend going and watching some of Mirbek Tysomov's fights when he came into the UFC and how he looks now. If you go back and watch Tysomov's fights when he first came into the UFC, his takedown defense was very, very poor. Go watch his fight against Michel Prazeres, gave up takedowns very easily. If you go back and watch his last couple fights, his takedown defense is basically bulletproof. He's almost impossible to take down. And if Roundtree can develop that level of takedown defense, he's going to be a fucking nightmare. So it's difficult to predict this fight at the moment because I'm not sure what we're going to see from Roundtree training out this new camp. And like I said, Roundtree's got the fundamentals like locked down. It's not going to be that difficult for him to make tiny adjustments to develop really, really legit takedown defense. He just needs to do things slightly differently, focus all his energy and all his brain power onto stuffing the takedown. Forget thinking about disengaging. Forget thinking about throwing strikes in the clinch or while defending takedowns. The most important thing to focus on is position and working through the positions. And if Roundtree does that, it's going to be a tough night for Anders because Anders isn't the best offensive wrestler anyway, to be honest with you. So this is a good test for Roundtree. He's fighting a guy with average wrestling, decent enough wrestling, who could cause the Roundtree that we've seen in the past problems, but maybe not going to be able to cause this new version of Roundtree problems if Roundtree learns some new tricks at Tiger Muay Thai. So sorry that I had to go into quite a little bit of depth about that and bore you, but I couldn't put it in part 3 of the breakdown videos because I didn't know at that point that Roundtree had been training at Tiger Muay Thai as he kept it quiet. So back to a prop betting situation for this fight. What do I like? So Anders, the only two bets that I would really consider here are Anders to win by decision at 3.49 to 3.25. Or Roundtree to win by KO at 3.40 to 3.50. Because Anders is really tough, and because in the past Roundtree's takedown defense has looked poor, I think Anders to win by decision is the most likely outcome. But like I say, it carries a lot of risk because I do expect Roundtree could show up with a new set of skills tonight, which completely disrupts everything that we thought about this fight. So if you really, 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 really want to bet this fight, I would take Anders to win by decision. I think it's the most likely outcome, but it's risky as fuck. And actually, do you know what, guys? Let's do something a little bit different. Actually, let's not. Let's stick with that. Let's stick with that. If you really want to bet this fight, take Anders to win by decision, but I don't love it. So then the co-main event, we're almost at the end before we go into the Q&A. So don't forget to get your questions in, guys, on the live Q&A thing on YouTube. And I'll answer them all after we've done these last two fights. So I feel like I've spoken so much about these next two fights, particularly the next one, Adesanya against Gastelum, over the last week. So many comments, DMs, emails, messages in my chat room about these two fights. But finally, we're going to see what happens tonight. We are going to see how it goes. Let me just take a quick breath and a drink. I'm fucking out of breath here, Jesus. Right. Adesanya Gastelum. And I am expecting to face some heat for how I talk about these next two fights, because everyone's got strong opinions, but that's the way it goes. So the prop bet that I would recommend on this fight, guys, and I know it's going to be a controversial one, but I would take Adesanya to win by knockout or TKO at 3.85. That's annoying. It's not as good on some sites. But 3.85 to 3.40, I think there is value there. And the reason why I like Adesanya to win by knockout or TKO is simply because he sits down so hard on his straight punches that I think that the difference in reach, that 9-inch reach advantage, is going to be absolutely massive in this fight. So if you go back and watch the past fights of both these guys, go watch like their last 5 fights, you'll see that Gastelum comes forward with a lot of pressure, but he does take a lot of damage. If you go and watch his fight against Jacare, Jacare was literally lighting him up like a Christmas tree. He was landing big power shots on Gastelum, but Jacare was just too tired. There wasn't enough power in his strikes to really hurt Gastelum and put him away. Now, yes, Gastelum has got a granite chin. He absolutely does have a granite chin. But also bear in mind that over the last few years, while Gastelum's been competing at middleweight, he's fought guys way past their prime. So if we if we just go all the way back now, and let's just go through Gastelum's career fight by fight, right? So 2015 fought Tyron Woodley at welterweight. Woodley's obviously got the power to KO anyone dead, but Woodley was gassed out of his mind in the second round of this fight. So past the second round, didn't really carry the power in his shots to hurt Gastelum. Nate Marquardt, when he fought Gastelum, way past his prime. Gastelum was not dangerous at this point in his career. Neil Magny, not dangerous at all. Doesn't really have that much power in his hands at all. Johnny Hendricks, when he fought Gastelum at UFC 200, Hendricks was shot. USADA wrecked his career. This was the first fight of Hendricks' downfall, to be honest with you. Hendricks was just not dangerous at all when they fought back at UFC 200. Tim Kennedy, again, no power in his strikes, not dangerous when it comes to striking. Vitor Belfort, again, Vitor Belfort built up a legacy from having vicious KO power, the power to KO anyone dead, but not in 2017. Belfort way past his prime when Gastelum fought him, just not that dangerous. And, you know, not long after this fight, Belfort went to a decision with a fragile Nate Marquardt. Belfort was not dangerous. Weidman, again, in 2017, this is not the Weidman that KO'd a prime Anderson Silva. Way past his prime. Bisping, way past his prime. Never been that dangerous standing. Jacare Souza, gassed out of his mind in the second round. Yes, Gastelum's got a granite chin. He's tough. But he has not fought someone that can test his chin and inflict power shots on him like Adesanya can. Now, the reach advantage in this fight is going to be massive, because if you go back and watch any of those fights that I've just shown you, Gastelum is very aggressive. He fights with a lot of pressure, but when he's coming forward, he takes a lot of damage. And if you go back and watch Adesanya's fights, he sits down so hard on his jab and straight punches that when he really sits down on a shot and Gastelum's coming forward with poor striking defense, that 9-inch reach advantage, which is literally this much a distance, is going to enable Adesanya to fire his shot right through Gastelum, literally right through his head. If you go back and watch Israel Adesanya's fights against Anderson Silva, and this is where you can tell the majority of people do not understand MMA. People are saying, oh, Adesanya couldn't finish a fucking 40-year-old Silva. You know, Gastelum's going to cause him problems. It's just so naive because it's different styles. If you look at Anderson Silva, yes, Anderson Silva, in terms of the divisional picture, is not going to be as competitive against most guys that Gastelum will be. But Anderson Silva is a much tougher fight for Adesanya than Gastelum is, because Anderson Silva is a similar size and a similar frame to Adesanya, and Silva also understands distance and range much better than Adesanya. So when Adesanya is throwing his straight punches and his jabs, Anderson Silva understands that distance, so he was able to slip the shots. And if you go back and watch that fight, you will literally see Adesanya missing so many jabs and straight punches by literally half an inch. Silva just managing to slip outside the range. But Gastelum, even though people on paper will be like, oh, Gastelum's better than Anderson Silva, and if fucking Adesanya couldn't finish Silva, then imagine what Gastelum could do to him. It is so short-sighted. Because whereas Silva is an equal size to Adesanya, and he's got the range and the understanding of distance to just slip those power straight shots and those power jabs, Gastelum, where he's coming forward with pressure, is literally going to be walking right under the straight shots of Adesanya. And with that 9-inch reach advantage, with Silva being a decent size and a similar range, Silva's able to slip that shot, because the range is different. That 9-inch reach for Adesanya means that even if Gastelum tries to slip the shot if he sees it coming, that 9 inches for Adesanya is going to enable him to fire right through Gastelum. And I think even though, yes, Gastelum's had a granite chin and a decent chin, I think the probability of Adesanya finishing this fight by knockout or TKO is very high with a straight shot right down the fucking pipe. When Gastelum's coming forward with lots of pressure, he cannot afford to eat the same shots that he has eaten in the past against these aging veterans as he can from Adesanya. Yes, Adesanya doesn't have that much power in his hands. He's more of a volume guy. But if he uncorks a straight shot right down the middle against a smaller opponent and they're walking onto it, don't care how good your chin is, you're going out. Or you're being knocked down, or you're absorbing an incredible amount of damage. So I think Adesanya to win by knockout or TKO at these odds is very good. I feel that's the most likely outcome of this fight. And I know a lot of people will disagree with me, but that's why they call it gambling. And I believe Adesanya is going to get it done by knockout or TKO. So if we move on to the next fight, guys, another really straightforward fight for me from a prop betting point of view. There are a couple of prop bets I actually like on this fight. Actually, there's more than a couple. I would say if you are going to prop bet this fight, just make a decision on what you want to go for. I think the most likely outcome of this fight is Holloway to win by knockout or TKO, but the odds aren't great, especially if you're having to bet it at 2.10. I mean, there's no real difference in odds from a value perspective between 2.10 and 1.50-ish, which is minus 200 plus 110. You may as well, if you can get Holloway at like to win by knockout or TKO at 2.50, which is plus 150, or 3.0, which is plus 200, then yeah, all right, go for it. But if your betting site's got these sort of odds, it's not worth bothering. You may as well just bet Holloway money line if you really want to. But the two props that I would take on top of that would be Holloway to win in round 3 at 7.30 and Holloway to win in round 4 at 9.75. I like that a lot. And what I would also say, guys, is a lot of European betting websites will actually allow you to bet on the round you think a fighter is going to win in and also the method of victory, which gives you much better odds. So if your betting site offers that, I don't know what the odds are. The PC I use to record this this live stream is literally blacklisted on every single betting website on the planet. It's blacklisted everywhere. So I can't log on to any betting websites now. I know there are betting sites that offer specific method of victory and the round the fight is going to win. I know Paddy Power offer it, but I cannot log on to Paddy Power from this PC because I don't want to incriminate this IP number on this blacklisted device. But yeah, man, if you can bet that, if your betting site has got like Holloway to win by KO in round 3, take that bet. Holloway to win by KO in round 4, take that bet. So I think the best prop bets for this fight are Holloway to win in round 3 and Holloway to win in round 4. I don't like Holloway to win in round 5 because I think if Poirier has made it that far, he's probably coming in with a grappling heavy game plan and he's going to be able to see the fight through to the end. And I don't like Holloway so much to win in round 2 because he's more of a volume striker rather than a power guy. Poirier's a tough mamma jammer and Holloway also likes to start slow. So those are the 3 prop bets I like for that fight. And fucking breathe. I can breathe now. I can breathe and look at the look at the props. Look at the questions on this. So let me just go to my laptop. I'll answer every single one of you now, guys. Answer every single one of you. Get your questions answered. So just have a quick drink. Close these down to stop the stream lagging out. Oh, actually, I might need that. That was a silly thing to do, especially if you guys are asking about specific fights or upcoming fights. If I just go back to this page, though, shouldn't lag out. And we're now about 3.5 hours away from the fight starting. So let's get into it. So let's see what questions we've got. Gold caps, man. Gold caps has brought up a really good point. Like I always say, anything can happen in MMA. Anything can happen in MMA. You know, Calvin could go out and absolutely KO Adesanya dead in the first 30 seconds. It can happen. And the Gold Caps has said one thing to think about. Gastelum won the Ultimate Fighter on April 13th. Today it is April 13th. Seems like destiny that Calvin would win. Yeah, MMA is a cruel sport. It's a cruel sport to bet on. Despite Adesanya having pretty much every advantage in the book that I can think of, he's one of the best bets in a long time. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Gastelum would have landed a Hail Mary and flash KO him. That's why they call it gambling. Angry Posh Gamer, Adesanya at 1.70. Wow, yeah, I definitely agree. Those odds are silly. Those odds just go to show the power of the MMA media and UFC hype machine. So if we really want to, look at this fight on the most basic level, so the odds of 1.70, which is minus 143, which Adesanya is on some betting sites at the moment, give him an implied probability of 59%. And there is that stat from Fightnomics. The fighters with a 9 to 10 inch reach advantage win around 70% of the time. So even if you didn't know anything about how these fighters match up stylistically, and you bet this fight from a purely mathematical point of view, using data that has been collected about the UFC since the beginning of the time, we would know that Adesanya should have a 70% chance of winning this fight, 7-0. Based on his 9-inch reach advantage, which would give you an 11% edge over the betting sites at these odds. And yet people still bet Gastelum. It's just, what you have to remember, guys, the vast majority of people that bet on sports lose. 95% of people that bet on sports lose. And this is literally a golden opportunity staring people in the face. We know that fighters with a 9 to 10 inch reach advantage win 70% of the time, and yet people still want to argue on social media and in the comments and in breakdown videos that Gastelum is a good bet. He's just a fucking terrible bet. Take away Adesanya's skill advantages, take away his technical striking advantages, take away how difficult he is to take down and hold down. Based on the size advantage alone, there is value here, but people ignore it. And, you know, what can you do? So, yeah, these odds are absolutely crazy. But at the end of the day, that's why we can be sure that long-term, we'll crush it. Long-term, no matter what happens tonight, we will make loads of money from betting on MMA long-term, because there will always be the UFC hype machine, the MMA media, that just do not understand the sport on a granular level, that hype these fights and make the average person, the casual gambler, think the fights are more competitive than they actually are. And that's, I'm not saying go bet your house on Adesanya, but he's a fucking good bet tonight. So Gold Caps says Khalil by decision plus 800. Yeah, I guess that's not bad. If Khalil does come in with some new takedown defense skills, he picked up a Tiger Muay Thai, I could definitely see him turning Anders into a panic wrestler. And if Anders is then reluctant to engage and then get into striking exchanges, then I could definitely see Khalil winning by decision. James Luco, win or lose, Adesanya is a great bet. I agree with you, mate. Gold Caps, destined by submission plus 800. Yeah, I could see that. You know what? If I don't, to be honest with you, give Poirier too much of a chance of winning tonight, I'm sticking to live betting for that fight, because I think it's a great fight for live betting. And I am a little bit worried about Holloway's takedown defense. But you are right, Gold Caps, for sure, man. I think if you do want to bet Poirier here, submission by submission is probably the best way. So Angry Posh Gamer, history to repeat itself maybe. Max is just a nightmare for anyone. No, I agree. I agree. Max should get it done tonight. Gold Caps, both Israel and Max saying they don't care about belts. Yeah. Let's see. So, empty soup can, tell me where I can live bet, please. So, hopefully it's still online, because where I would recommend live betting really depends on which country you live in. Obviously, different betting websites offer, or different betting websites accept customers from different countries. So if you tell me in the live chat which country you live in, I'll be able to recommend the best site for live betting based on where you live. Robert Scott, Israel better win or I quit UFC. Oh, mate, don't quit, don't quit. It is... MMA betting is a cruel beast. Like, it is very cruel. You can do all the research in the world, you can do all the preparation, you can make the best betting decisions, but at the end of the day, can't control what happens in the octagon. Anything can happen. Like, for all we know, Adesanya could be coming into this fight with a broken foot or a broken hand. You know, fighters do it all the time. And if he comes in with that type of injury, he's going to struggle bad. It can happen. So try not to put too much emphasis on one fight. You know, you should care just as much about the Israel Adesanya versus Gastelum fight as fucking Antonina Shevchenko versus Roxanne Modafferi next week. Try and give every fight an equal amount of your energy, and don't try and put too much weight on one fight, because even if Adesanya loses, there'll be plenty more opportunities this year. You know, like I said, I'll place between 400 and 600 bets in this calendar year. If Adesanya loses, just shake it off, man. There'll be plenty more opportunities. Don't worry about it. Lee Dosis, could you go into detail about gnoming and multi-accounting? I'm not going to, mate, to be honest with you. So I do make the majority of my money from live betting, but I'm never going to cover... I'm never going to make too much content about that type of stuff, because basically this is gonna sound harsh, but the more people that know about that kind of stuff, the less profitable it is for everyone. So it's really harsh, but if I were to make like a video on this stuff and it were to get like 10,000 views, those of us making money at the moment probably wouldn't be able to make as much money anymore. So we gotta keep that stuff tight, man. But do your own research. There's loads of information out there, but it's tough for me to make content about that stuff. Hate to be all secret squirrel, but it is quite, they are sensitive topics, you know what I mean? It's a tricky one to talk about. Piglord MMA, it's not fight day, it's payday. That's right, man. Hopefully we get paid tonight. Hopefully we can make a profit. So James Luco, which fighter's got poor cardio for this event? So let's take a look, mate. So I would say that, so I wouldn't say Poirier has got bad cardio, but what I would say is that he's not going to be able to keep up with the pace the Holloway sets. So I've seen a lot of people saying that they think this fight's going to go the distance. I think that's nonsense, to be honest with you. I think there's a very, very slim chance this fight goes the distance, because Poirier takes so much damage. He's so easy to hit that I think if this fight gets into the 4th and 5th rounds, Holloway will get a finish. So Poirier doesn't have bad cardio. Poirier has good cardio, but he takes a lot of damage. Who else? Ovin St. Prue's got terrible cardio. Pantoja slows down a lot in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. Griffin slows down in the 3rd round, but it really depends on how hard Imadeyev can make him work. Both these girls, Batalio and Mueller, have slowed down in the past, but I wouldn't say they've got bad cardio. We've seen them slow down on occasions, but on other occasions they fought at a decent pace for 15 minutes, so it's tough to judge them. And that's pretty much it. Obviously, Imadeyev, Randy Costa's cardio is a complete unknown. How about Holloway 3rd round 8+8? Dave LB, how about Holloway 3rd round +800 and 4th round +1600? Yeah, I love those prop bets, mate. Definitely. Massiso, live bets must be a great rush. Yeah, man, it's like I earn the majority of my money through live betting. Like I've earned the majority of my money through live betting for like 6 to 8 years now. I started live betting about 8 years. Started to like tighten my strategy up over the last 6 years and start making big money from it. But because I've been doing this so long, it's not really a rush anymore. Like when I win a lot of money, because I've been doing it for so long, it's kind of a weird feeling, because when you make a lot of money in live betting, you know that it won't take long for the betting sites to shut you down. So it's kind of like mixed feelings. Like if I absolutely crush it tonight and make thousands, I'll kind of be a little bit happy, but then kind of have a bit of regret, because I know come next week I'll probably be shut down, which is a pain in the ass. But I get a rush from like helping people make money, you know what I mean? It's one of the reasons why I set up this YouTube channel. Like if I make a big profit tonight and my live betting chat room is popping off and everyone's happy and it's red panty night, like I love that. Like I get a buzz out of that. So I don't get don't get too much of a rush from making money, but I do get a rush from seeing others make money, if that makes sense. I know it sounds stupid, but I just think it's like any job, innit? After a while, you just become numb to things. But I never get numb to seeing people go crazy in the live betting chat and loving it. It's wicked. So I think you'd be surprised. 50 subscribers gained in the last 2 days. Thanks, mate. Thanks, mate. I really appreciate it. So Dave live bet. So I live bet on lots of websites. So I live bet on about 20 different betting websites. And Noah Martinez. So Noah Martinez says I can't access a lot of these sites in Las Vegas. So if you're in the United States and you're interested in giving live betting a try, you've got 3 options. So 5 dimes enable you to bet every televised prelim in between every televised prelim and main card fight in between rounds. So by televised prelim, what I mean is in some parts of the world, some fights are televised and some are shown through streaming platforms. So as a rule, betting websites don't like to offer live betting on fights that are only shown through a streaming platform, because the delays leave a potential for people to kind of like scam them and get bets in when the fights have already ended. So as a general rule, betting sites only really offer live betting on fights that are shown in some countries on TV. So the first televised fight tonight will be the 4th fight in. Now, at the moment, that's Boston Salmon versus Khalid Taha. But sometimes, even in the hour leading up to an event, the UFC will change their bout order. But basically, whatever fight comes after Belal Muhammad Curtis Melender, that's when you'll be able to start live betting on 5 dimes. But it's only in between rounds. So it's not as good as European sites, which let you bet during fights. Now, BetDSI, if you're in Vegas, you can open up an account at BetDSI. They let you bet during the rounds, so during the fight, just like European sites. But that's only for the main card fights. They don't let you bet the prelims. And then your third option, which I've never actually used this site because they don't accept customers from the UK. But I've heard DraftKings Sportsbook offer live betting on the majority of prelim fights and main card fights during rounds, but I don't have a lot of experience as what it's like. I've got a few elite members that tail my live bets from the United States, and they've been using DraftKings Sportsbook recently, and they said it's pretty good. But I don't really know that much about it because I haven't used it. But they said it's pretty good, to be honest with you, so it's worth checking out. Ryan, thoughts on a 4-to-1 double of Adesanya and Poirier? So to be honest with you, mate, I hate parlays, I hate accumulators, because if you think about it, when you add, so when you are building a parlay, so a parlay is what people in America call it, accumulators are what people call it in the rest of the world. So a parlay and an accumulator are basically the same thing. And that's where you would put multiple fighters in the same bet, and then if they all win, you'd win a bet. Now, I personally hate them. I don't think they're a very good long-term strategy for making money. Because if you think about it, say, for example, you wanted to put Holloway, Adesanya, and Belal Muhammad into a parlay for this event, right? When you add each additional leg of the parlay, each additional leg into the parlay or accumulator, each additional fight, the odds improve by about 10%. But when you add a new leg or a new fighter to a parlay or an accumulator, you're introducing 100% more risk. Do you see what I'm saying? Because you're introducing a completely new set of risk that if that fighter loses, your entire bet is crushed. So you're only getting a marginal improvement in odds for a gigantic additional piece of risk. So that's why I hate parlays and accumulators. I just don't really see them as a long-term solution to making money. So I would recommend that you bet those fighters straight if you want to bet them. I just don't see the point. So, for example, if you wanted to bet Muhammad, Adesanya and Holloway, why put them in a parlay or an accumulator? Because if Adesanya does lose tonight, if you're betting level stakes on these 3 guys, you're probably going to end up slightly in profit or at break even if Holloway and Muhammad win. Whereas if you bet a parlay, you lose everything. It just makes no sense. I just don't get it. It just makes no sense to me. You might feel differently, but in my experience, I just don't bother with them. I think you'd be surprised. Glad you didn't get hit by a bus. Nice one, mate. I'm glad I didn't get hit by a bus too. Joe Fitzpatrick, you're better than Ant and Deck. Nice one, mate. I would much rather be doing a show like this than the bullshit they do on a Saturday night on ITV or something. Max Tools Poirier, yeah, I agree, mate. I do think there's a really good chance Max dominates tonight. I'm really high on him. I just wish we'd seen his takedown defense tested a little bit more over the last 6 years. Is salmon worth bet? Nordic Hellers says, is salmon worth betting? No, I definitely wouldn't bet Boston Salmon, mate. He is primarily a kickboxer, and I think Khalita has a better striker. Boston Salmon's path to victory is wrestling and takedowns, but he doesn't ever really try and take his opponents down, so I don't really like him too much. Piglord MMA, I mainly play props in lotto parlays. I agree with you, mate. That's the way you should play them. That's a good way of thinking at it. And that's it. Piglord, they mainly crash and burn, but 1 or 2 hits throughout the year. Yeah, just look for those high risk, high reward situations. Lidosis, actually one of my elite members, man. So shout out to you, Lee. Hopefully we can crush it tonight, mate. So would you have a better bookmakers so you have access to higher limits? Yeah, I would bet anywhere. I would bet anywhere that offers live betting and big limits on MMA. Drew Cash, do you only bet MMA? So I don't really want to get into this stuff. If I'm honest with you, again, I like to just keep this stuff under wraps. But I'll just say this very quickly because there's only 110 people online, and hopefully the majority of people won't hear this. But basically, if you only bet MMA on a betting account and you crush it, that account will get closed down quite quickly. Whereas if you crush it on MMA and bet loads of other sports, you'll be able to keep your betting account open longer. So I do bet other sports, but not to make money. I just do it to keep betting accounts open longer. I'm not trying to make a profit. I just do it for action. Let's move on quickly. E-Tour. So how big are you going with Adesanya? So basically, mate, I haven't bet Adesanya yet. I haven't placed any. Well, actually, that's not true. I have bet a little bit on Belal Muhammad because I felt the odds at around 1.80 were too good to be true. I haven't bet on Adesanya yet because the way I work is I am like literally everything I do is focused on compound interest. So there's no point in me betting Adesanya yet and putting a big chunk of my money on the table when I could use that money to live bet all these fights before Adesanya takes place, if that makes sense. Like, why bet thousands on Adesanya when I could use that money to live bet all these guys? You know, I'll bet on Adesanya just before the fight takes place. So how much I'll bet on Adesanya will depend on how well I do throughout the rest of the night. Because basically whatever my betting account balances look like before this fight will determine how much I'll bet on him. So it's probably going to be between £2,000 and £5,000. You know, if I have a really rough night, it's probably going to be closer to £2,000. If I have a great night, it'd be £5,000 or more. You never know how it's going to go in live betting. So that's pretty much how I work. I don't know how much I'll bet on him, but it'll be in that ballpark. That's just the way I do things. But like you say, if you're rolling your eyes and thinking this guy's crazy, I've read all these books, all these Twitter guys, all these other cappers on YouTube, all do things the same. Just remember, guys, that if you read any book on business or investing or making it, whatever, when everyone else moves right, you should go left. If you do things differently, you know, if everyone's doing the same thing, chances are that it doesn't work that great or they're not crushing it. You have to think for yourself, think about your own way of doing things, and then you develop your own ways. And what I do works very well for me. You know, I'm not going to go out there and write books on it or articles or fucking bang on about it on social media, but it fucking works. You know what I mean? So I do things differently to everyone else, but it works. That's all I got to say on that. So, MMA all day. Thanks for the kind words, mate. I'll catch you later, man. I love reading your comments as well, mate. You're always positive. I really appreciate it, man. So Jason Yoon, anyone else got money on Jalen Turner? Do you know what, Jason? I would really like to bet Jalen Turner. You know, yesterday I was actually like a little bit what I said about the Roundtree information coming up, where it came to light on Thursday that he'd been training at Tiger Muay Thai. You know, when you research these fights, sometimes new information comes to light that makes you view the fight a little bit differently. And when I researched Turner versus Frivola, I did favour Turner, but his takedown defence and ground game was a little bit of a concern to me. But then I knew he would have a size advantage, but I didn't really think it would be as dramatic as it is. And when I saw the ceremonial weigh-ins yesterday, and I saw Turner absolutely towering over Frivola, it did make me think about betting on Turner. I am interested in betting Turner. I mean, I'm not going to do it. I've got to stay disciplined. His takedown defense and ground game did look very, very bad in some of his past fights. But I just think Frivola's going to find it really difficult to overcome that size difference. So I don't know. I'm going to pass, but I can see why people would bet Turner, especially after seeing the weigh-ins. So a few people, Irate Zombies, got money on Jalen. John Doe's got money on Adesanya. Gaston makes me nervous. Don't worry, mate. He makes me nervous too. Thomas Molyneux's betting Boston, I think. Lido says, could you give a breakdown on Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tazurkian? Not yet, mate. I haven't researched that fight, to be honest with you. But I will get to it early next week, hopefully. I don't know anything about Arman Tazurkian, so I don't really want to talk about that. I'd purely be wiki capping, which isn't the smartest thing to do. Jason Yoon, pretty excited for today's fight. Me too, man. I can't wait. That one kid, YouTube's amazing. He saved my life and is very helpful to anyone who deserves every bit of support he gets. Nice one, mate. Thanks a lot for the kind words, dude. Hopefully you can make some cash tonight. Rizzler7, hey pal, can I ask a question? I don't want to sound like I'm a hater though. Don't worry, dude. You can ask me anything you want. I'm getting used to haters now. It's no problem. Getting used to them. Jason Glonick, are you still betting football? Yes, mate, I am still betting football. I've actually done well this week on football. The bets I've had on football, I've got lucky as well, though, to be fair to you. Just purely based on what I said earlier on, it helps keep your account open longer. In fact, I'm not going to say what bets I've had this week because it would potentially make it easier for betting sites to identify some of my betting accounts. So probably not smart for me to say which bets I've done on football this week, but I've made about £2,000 profit on football this week, and I've got very, 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 very lucky. Very lucky. Should have made a loss, but I've hit some lucky winners. So Jackson double chance submission decision is 1.7 on Betfair. I don't, you know, I like Jackson to win by decision more, if I'm honest with you, mate. Don't think it'll be that easy for him to submit Sukumtar. Sukumtar's tough. Even though he's got a low-level ground game, he knows how to defend himself. Piglot MMA likes Bailal by sub. What are the odds on that? Let's have a look. $5.22. Yeah, I like, to be honest with you, I do like Mohammed to win by knockout or TKO more, just because the odds are better. Bailow's got very, very good ground and pound. He inflicts a significant amount of damage when he gets in the top position. And also, if there was a flash KO, that covers us as well. So I do like Mohammed to win by knockout or TKO more, but I could definitely see Bailal win by submission. I just think he's the kind of guy that if he puts Melender in a bad position on the ground, he's more than likely going to pursue a finish, going for ground and pound over a submission, because Balal's one of those guys that likes to favour position over submission. So Darren Wright, let's hear a good parlay. So me, all right, let's do it. Let's do it. Lots of people like to bet parlays. So if we... I'm trying to think of a betting site I can go on, which I haven't been blacklisted on. Alright, let's go. Oh, I'll have to put my username in then, and then they'll see my username. I can't go on a betting site on this PC, guys. I've literally got access to one betting site on this PC. But then the betting site will see my username. So I can't. I don't know what the odds are going to be on a parlay I recommend. Oh, let's see if I can find a parlay calculator, shall we? Can't go on a betting site from this PC because I don't want to get its IP number blacklisted. Parlay calculator. See if we can find one. Vegas Insider. What have we got here? Oh, the money line. Oh, they're not going to tell us the odds along the way though. That's annoying. Alright, so if you are going to do a parlay, I would prefer to do a parlay and treat it like the prop bets where you want high risk, high reward. So even if you only hit like 1 or 2 of them per year, you're still in profit. So if I was going to go for a parlay, I would go for Max Holloway, which is minus 200. And then I would go for Adesanya, minus 170. Oh, hang on. Switch to money line. Wait a sec. There we go. Money line. Adesanya, minus 142. And then I would go for... I'd skip that. I'd go for Dwight Grant, minus 122. Remember, this is super high risk. I would go for Ovin St. Preux, plus 105. Super high risk. This is just a lottery ticket, an MMA lottery ticket. Jalen Turner, minus 135. Pantoja, minus 150. Griffin, plus 110. And we've run out of space because you can only do 8 legs. So the 8th leg will obviously be Belal Muhammad, minus 150. I don't know what the odds on this are going to be because it's not going to tell me. But if you were to bet $100, that would pay almost 10 grand. So just, I would look at it like lottery tickets, guys. If that's $10, which is way safer number, almost $1,000. Like, I like that. I like that. High risk, high reward. Don't bother going for these 2-3 leg parlays. Like, there's literally no point. You may as well just bet the fighters straight. If you're going to bet parlays and accumulators, go big or go home. You know, obviously a massive percentage of them are going to lose, but that's personally the way I would play it if it were me. So let's get rid of that. So the next question. Belal, Adam Rose says Belal, Davis and Botelho should win. I agree with you, mate, definitely. Luke Stenson, Holloway Poirier to last over 1.5 rounds. I do like that bet, definitely. Holloway's a slow starter. I do like that bet. And also with both guys competing in a 25-minute fight, they both will respect each other. They will both want to pace themselves. They don't want to risk adrenaline dumping. Both guys are likely to start a little bit slower than usual, feel each other out, find their range. So yeah, I do like that over 1.5 rounds. I rate Zombies, Jalen Turner, Brandon Davis, Adesanya, Holloway is my parlay. I like it, man. I do like those 4 guys. I think they all win. Boom wrecked. On how many fights have you decided to bet on? I am betting on... I haven't actually made my decision final yet, but at the moment I've got 3 well, I will be betting 3 guys before the fight takes place. We'll be going for Adesanya, OSP and Belal Muhammad, and I might add more. We'll see what happens. Darren Wright, Boston Salmon has had a boxing career and fought pro boxers. You are right, Darren Wright is right, he has. But I just haven't been blown away with his MMA striking, if I'm honest with you. Boston Salmon's, if you think about it, even though Boston Salmon might be a higher level boxer on paper than Khalid Taha, Taha's just got a much wider range of weapons. You know, he's got a really nice technical Muay Thai style. He's faster. There's more pop in his shots. Throws a really wide range of strikes. You know, punches, kicks, elbows, knees. Whereas Salmon's got a much more traditional boxing style. Taha's just got way more tools, way more weapons in the locker. Luke Stenson, 1.53 over 1.5 rounds on Holloway Poirier. I do like him, mate, definitely. Born a Bear, happy fight night, bro. Happy fight night to you as well, man. Thanks a lot for your comments as well, mate. You're always positive. You keep me going, mate. You always put a smile on my face. I really appreciate it, man. Darren Wright, Boston is very high level boxing. Yes, he is. Pantoja has no takedown defense. Rice will take him down at will. So Adam Rose has said Pantoja has no takedown defense. Rice will take him down at will. I agree with you, mate. Alexandre Pantoja has no takedown defense in the same way that Damian Maia has no takedown defense. Pantoja easily gives up takedowns because he wants to be on the ground. He's at a very high level when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a very high level black belt. He was a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach at Nova União. So training, fighters like Claudio Gadelha, Hakrin Diaz, Junior Dos Santos, Reynan Barão, Jose Aldo, all these absolute beasts. And when you think about how good fighters like Reynan Barão in their prime, Jose Aldo in his prime were on the ground, how good Claudio Gadelha is on the ground, how good Hakrin Diaz is on the ground, just think that Alexandre Pantoja was the guy coaching them and teaching them. So yes, Pantoja's takedown defense is bad. Rice is a strong wrestler, but on the ground, Pantoja can cause Rice all kinds of problems. So you are right, but Pantoja's a nightmare. Rice could have a tough night if this fight goes to the ground. And I Raid Zombies just said Pantoja has better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's right, definitely. Darren Wright says Wilson Rice almost got finished so many times by Ben Wynn, barely pulled out the win. Alexander will win inside the distance. Yeah, there's a good. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't like Pantoja to win inside the distance just because Rice is a skilled enough grappler to defend himself on the ground. And also Pantoja is not particularly dangerous striking. And with both guys being grapplers, you'd expect the majority of this fight to take place on the ground. But I could see Pantoja win inside the distance, catching a sub or like you say, Rice is chinny. So Pantoja could knock him out. Adam Rose says, Rice is a black belt. He's always been slept on. He's only lost the best of the best. Yes, Rice is a black belt, but there are different levels of black belt, and Pantoja is just at a much higher level, mate. Trust me. Darren Wright gets finished a lot. So guys just discussing that fight in the chat. Adam Rose Turner by decision. Yeah, I like that, mate. I do like that. Or round one KO. Yeah, I do. I agree with you. So Adam Rose has said he likes Jalen Turner to win by KO in round one because he's going to constantly touch up Frivola, who doesn't have the best chin. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. You know what? I actually slightly disagree with you, but I think we're saying the same thing in different ways. So I don't think Frivola has a bad chin. I actually think Frivola's got a great chin because of how much damage he can take and still hang in there. I think Frivola's issue is that he's just got very bad striking defense. He's so easy to hit. So we're kind of saying the same thing, but Frivola's chin's excellent because of the damage he can take, but there's a high probability Turner will KO him, especially in round one, because he just takes so much damage. And I Raid Zombies has just said exactly what I said. Frivola does have a decent chin. GLR Adesanya by KO. Yeah, I definitely like that, mate. I mentioned that earlier. Definitely. Adam Rose, he basically got knocked out twice in the Venata fight, though. Yeah, he did, Adam Rose. He did get knocked out twice. He was wobbled bad, but the fact that he was able to take that damage twice shows how good his chin is. Caleb Dowling. Kelvin is built like a brick wall. Have you seen the size of his head? He ain't getting KO'd. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. He's got a good chin, but he hasn't fought someone like Adesanya before who sits down so hard on their straight punches. I think Adesanya could really get a finish here tonight. Robert Borden, hey man, I left you a comment trying to find the betting site. Have you found out what website would be the best for me to use? Oh, so Robert Borden just wants to know what is the best betting site for live betting. He lives in Canada. So the two best countries in the world to live for live betting are Canada and the UK, because in those two countries, you can pretty much open an account with any betting site on the planet. So Robert is very lucky to be living in Canada. So if you're living in Canada, mate, the betting sites I would recommend for live betting would be Bet365, William Hill, Paddy Power, Unibet, LVBet. Just pick one of them. Bet365 are the best, though. And there's about, if you run out of them, jump in my chat room on my website. You can find it here, community chat rooms. If you run out of those sites, if you get shut down on all of them, and you're looking for it, I've got a list of like 20 sites you can live bet at. I'll be putting that list on my website soon for everyone to see. I just haven't had time to do it yet. It's been mental. So Adam Rose has recommended Bovada. So Bovada are not very good for live betting, guys. So I would avoid Bovada. Devin Davis, man, I've been going back and forth all day on Bless versus Diamond. Do you know what, mate? I am not going back and forth on it. I think Holloway will dominate if he can keep the fight standing. I'm just really worried that his takedown defense hasn't really been tested that much. I think if Holloway can keep this fight standing, I think he's going to absolutely style on Holloway and put on a striking clinic and eventually get a knockout win or a TKO through volume. Okay, sorry, Devin Davis has said he's going back and forth on that fight all day because of DraftKings. I would put Holloway in your team 100%, mate. No doubt about it. Because he throws such a high volume of strikes that unless Poirier gets an early finish, Holloway's going to get you loads of points through strikes landed. And also there's a really high probability that you'll get a finish by knockout or TKO, which would also bag you a fucking boatload of points in DraftKings. Personally, I've got Holloway in my DraftKings team, all of them. I'd really give Poirier a small chance of winning this, like 10 to 15%, maybe 20%. I just don't see Poirier doing it. I don't know. Holloway's takedown defense and ground game was bad 6 years ago when he fought Dennis Bermudez, but I would find it unbelievable if he hasn't improved it a lot since then. Surely he's made big improvements since then. You know, 6 years is a long time. I'm just worried the training at these small gyms in Hawaii, you know, Holloway's never moved outside of Hawaii. I'm just concerned that he has perhaps been a bit stubborn and not been at the best gyms over the last 6 years to develop the kind of takedown defense you would need to shut a guy like Poirier down. I don't know, maybe more than 15-20%. Maybe that's being aggressive. Maybe that's me firing from the hip and speaking out of turn. But I don't know, I just see Holloway dominating. I really do. So Darren Wright, Grant yesterday was plus 15 to win. Yeah, his odds have flip-flopped today. He's now the favourite, mate. Mikey B, nice to see you. So Mikey B's a member of my website as well. He's Royd on there. Good to see you, Royd, man. Hopefully we can crush it tonight, mate. Hopefully we can crush it. Rizla 7 has said Grant is an even money bet on Sky Bet. So thanks for the info, Rizla. So if you still want to bet Grant, you can get him at even money on Sky Bet. Robert Borden, can anyone help me out? First time trying to bet but can't find a reputable website to use. I think I just answered that, mate. And a few people trying to help you out. So definitely don't use Bovada. Do not use Bovada. So Adam Rose has said Bovada is the best. It's really not. It is really not. I would not even put Bovada in the top 30 betting websites. So yeah, if you're in Canada, mate, Bet365 definitely the best option for you. So Darren Wright, if it goes to the decision, Alan wins all day. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. So Darren Wright has said if the Alan Jouban versus Dwight Grant fight goes the distance, Jouban will win a decision. I agree with him 100%. I don't see Grant winning a decision at all. Grant's just not really a high volume striker. I think if the fight goes the distance, it's because Jouban's fought smart, avoided the power shots, played the role of Matador, and outstruck Grant for 3 rounds. Definitely agree with Darren Wright there, for sure. Steve Donner, I got Khalil KO. Good luck, mate. Good luck. Hopefully he comes through for you, man. Alan Arango, what's up, Allsop? Hey, man. Good to see you, mate. Adam Rose has said if Grant touches Jouban once, he's rocked. I agree with you, mate. Definitely. Jouban's looked really chinny over the last few years. GLR's gone for Khalil Roundtree round 1. Yeah, I could see it ending in round 1 for sure. But if it does end in round 1, I don't see it being, yeah, Khalil Roundtree in round 1. I could see that for sure, man. Adam Rose and his decision, yeah, I could see that as well. So Robert Borden just asked about Bovada. Please don't use Bovada, mate. Please do not use Bovada. They are not a very good betting site. If you're in America, obviously, like if you're in the US, Bovada might be decent, but anywhere else in the world, there's no need to use Bovada. There's like 50 betting sites that are better if you're in Europe or Canada or something like that. Bovada are just not good. Just scrolling through, see if there's any more questions. So Epic Phil's come saying something really interesting here. So Epic Phil has said that he ran into Khalil in Bangkok and asked if he was training grappling, and he told me he was only focused on stand-up. He just wanted to bang. Oh my god, I hope that's not true. Really, really good info from Epic Phil. So Phil was in Bangkok with Khalil, and Khalil said he's only there to strike, and that's worrying. Like, some fighters are stubborn for whatever reason; they just don't want to address their weaknesses. And Roundtree might be one of those guys. You know, he was training at not the best gym for a long time in Las Vegas, and maybe he's made another bad decision, which is annoying. So Kieran's another one of my elite members, mate. Shout out to you, man. Hopefully we can crush it tonight. So Kieran has said he wants picks, or it didn't happen. Well, you know, it would be good to see some Russian beasts, a Tiger Muay Thai shooting in on Khalil, and, you know, helping him develop takedown defense. But don't think we're going to get it unless Epic Phil wants to share some of his holiday picks. You never know. Oh yeah, so Robert Borden's been redirected from Bovada to Bodog. I'm still scrolling through. I'm praying you didn't open an account at Bovada, because they're not a good betting site. I am hoping you haven't opened an account there. So Bodog are basically the same company as Bovada. They're just like a mirror. Like, some sites are the same company, but they have different brands in different territories. So for example, 5 Dimes and, if I just switch back to decimal, so 5 Dimes and Sportsbet are the same company. Bovada are the same company as Bodog. 888 Sport are the same company as Unibet. They're just different brands, but they all use the same platform, the same user database, the same software. And Bookmaker and BetDSI used to be the same, but in the last sort of 2 years they've gone their separate ways, and now Bookmaker and BetDSI are completely different companies. So Darren Wright has said, one of the better fights not to bet, Eric should win. One of the better fights not to bet, Eric should win, but not at -28 and taking 3 L's in a row. Eric should get his hand raised. My bet is that it will be dicey. Yeah, I agree with you, Darren, for sure, man. I agree with you, mate. Eric is like the more sensible bet, especially what Epic Phil's just said. But tough to feel confident in him, especially as a big favourite. Rizzler7, did we just ask the questions? Yeah, go for it, man. Just go for it. Luke Stenson has said, Gastelum, he's a vet, has some of the best hand speed. I think he dogs it out. Yeah, it's possible, man. Gastelum might dog it out. Definitely wouldn't bet on it, though. Definitely wouldn't bet on it. He's second best everywhere. Alan Arango has said, Stylebender all the way. Hydrate. Good thinking, man. Slowing down a bit. I need to keep drinking. We've been going for almost 2 hours now. So then, Holly Dell said, I have a question on live betting. What do you aim for in a bet? For example, a straight bet after watching round 1. Oh, mate, it's so hard, dude. I'm not being a dick, right? I'm not trying to hold back information. But live betting is so deep that I could literally write like a 1,000-word book on live betting and I still wouldn't cover everything. It's just a hard question to answer, man. There's so many things to look out for. It all stems from pre-fight research, basically. Like, if you so all right, I can't give you tips for live betting. It's so complex. Like I say, it really is fucking really complex, guys. I'm not being a dick, but I could make like 1,000 videos on live betting. I still wouldn't cover everything. And even if I did cover everything, there would be like multiple branches stemming off those videos due to different complexities and different styles and different. It's fucking complicated, man. But what I would say is the reason why you can crush it in live betting is because, how do I say this? So I research every single fight on a card in depth, right? So I'll spend 3-4 hours researching every single UFC fight and every single KSW fight, every single Bellator fight. At the moment, those are the 3 promotions we can live bet. So by spending a lot of time researching the fights, a lot of the time, you will come out with multiple pathways that the fight could go. So you won't be able to identify who's going to win, but you will be able to identify different ways that the fight could play out. So I'll give you a really good example now, right? So Dustin Poirier against Max Holloway. Based on my research, and I know there's going to be lots of people agree with me, but I've spent 3-4 hours researching this fight, and I'm very confident in everything I'm about to say. So I believe if Holloway can keep this fight standing, he is going to absolutely dominate Dustin Poirier, style on him, and eventually get a TKO win through volume or knockout. I just think Holloway's going to murk Poirier if this fight stays standing. I don't even think it's going to be a contest. But at the same time, Holloway's takedown defense hasn't been tested at all in the last 6 years. It really hasn't. He's only fought one semi-decent wrestler in Ricardo Lamas. Last time Holloway fought a decent offensive wrestler was 6 years ago against Dennis Bermudez, and he didn't look good at all. He lost a split decision. So even though he's probably improved since then, we just don't know. So the way you look at this fight, if you want to bet this fight now, is risky. Because at the end of the day, if Holloway is stubborn and he hasn't improved his takedown defense, Poirier could come out, shoot a deep double leg, dump Holloway on his back on the canvas and grind him out for 5 rounds or get a sub. It can absolutely happen. So if you're betting Holloway before the fight, it's fucking risky because you don't know what his takedown defense is like. If you just don't know, man. You fucking don't know. No one knows. No one knows how Holloway's takedown defense is going to hold up against Poirier's offensive wrestling. Because even though Poirier is branded as a striker, which he is, Poirier is probably the best wrestler that Holloway's ever faced. You know, Dennis Bermudez is a small featherweight at 5'7", I believe, or 5'8". Dustin Poirier is a big, strong, well-rounded offensive wrestler. You know, he took Jim Miller down, grinded him out. Took Joe Duffy down and grinded him out. It's in his locker. He took Anthony Pettis down and grinded him out. The skills are there. But if you look at live betting, if Poirier comes out and in the first few minutes shoots a deep double leg on Holloway, and Holloway completely shuts his takedowns down on 2 or 3 occasions, you've now got the information you need to hammer Holloway in live betting. We know if the fight stays standing, 9 times out of 10, Holloway is going to dominate. So then in the first round, if we see Holloway completely shut down Poirier's wrestling, it's free money. It's pretty much free money. And that's why live betting is so lucrative. But that is also why it's hard for me to give you tips on live betting, because it all stems from pre-fight research. If you've got, you know, fucking 40 hours a week to do fight research, and you can learn every single fighter in depth, their strengths and weaknesses, how they react to different positions, what they're likely to do in different positions, their game plans, their tactics, their cardio, their pacing, their strengths, their weaknesses, that knowledge is what enables you to crush it in live betting. If you don't have that knowledge, it's very difficult. So that's why I can't come out and be like, oh, I can't go and write a fucking ebook on strategies. I can't give tips, because it all stems from research, all stems from knowing fighters. Because at the end of the day, these betting sites are multinational, multi-billion-pound companies, multi-million-dollar companies, billion-dollar. Bet365, the most profitable company in UK, the biggest betting site in the world. It's a war of attrition. When I go into battle tonight, I'm literally going into battle. I am going in to do war. I'm going up against Bet365 for all my members on my website. I'm going in, and they're betting on me, and I am betting on me, and I'm betting on the fact that I know more about these fights and all these fighters than Bet365 do, or William Hill, or LV Bet, or Paddy Power. Whoever is working at these betting sites, I'm betting I know more about MMA than they do. And over the last 5 years, my results have proven that I do. But that's why it's hard to give you guys tips, because everything stems from the research. So Roganski said Gastelum has a good chin. I've got Izzy via decision. Yeah, I could see that, mate, for sure, man. But Alan Arango, Gas does not possess the skills. I hope you are right, mate. I don't think he's got the skills either. Hopefully he doesn't prove us wrong. Rizzler7, yeah, I didn't agree with you to missing Gastelum so easily. He's fought nothing but the elite. Has he, though? Has Gastelum fought nothing but the elite? Not sure, man. Let's have a look at that. Has Gastelum fought nothing but the elite? So if you look at his record, Jacare Souza. I'm just going to guess their ages, otherwise this is going to take a long time. So I'm pretty sure Jacare's 38 years old, way past his prime. I actually scored this fight for Jacare. I felt that Jacare won this fight. Gastelum squeezed through on a split decision. So Gastelum went to a close decision against a 30-year-old guy way past his prime. Michael Bisping, he'd taken a ton of damage like a month before that in a fight against GSP. 36 years old when they fought. Chris Weidman, way past his prime. Way past his prime when they fought, and he lost. Vitor Belfort, I'm pretty sure he was like 36, 37 when they fought. Post USADA, not on PEDs anymore. Just not dangerous. You know? Not dangerous at all. Way past his prime. Tim Kennedy, again, post USADA, nowhere near as effective. Gassed hard in the second round of this fight. Way past his prime. Johnny Hendricks, hit hard by USADA in January 2016. This was the first fight that Hendricks fought post USADA. He'd heavily declined. Really? Neil Magny lost the split decision. Is Magny that good, really, as he is in Adesanya's league? Nate Marquardt, completely past his prime when he fought him. Woodley was decent when they fought back in 2015, but Woodley gassed out bad in round 2. Ellenberger past his prime. Nico Mazzocchi, not a high-level guy. Rick Story, not a high-level guy. Brian Malenko, not a high-level guy. Uriah Hall, total flake box. You see where I'm going with this? Has Gastelum really fought elite competition, or has he just had favourable matchmaking? Now the dog's going crazy in the background because my wife and my kid have just showed up. But if you don't mind them coming in and causing some chaos with the dog, I'll keep going. I am sorry though, it's going to get a bit chaotic in the next 5-10 minutes when they come in, guys. They're probably just getting out the car now. You can hear the dog barking in the background, but they basically went out to give me some time to do this. Didn't think we would be going on for 2 hours, but I'm not about to stop anytime soon. I'm just going to check actually where they are. Oh, that is very kind of them, guys. They did come home. They've actually just gone back out again, which is really kind of them. So we will keep it going. So let's try and wrap this up. We've been going for 2 hours. Let's get through these questions as quick as I can. So El Toro has said, what time do the prelims start? So the prelims start in around 2 to 2.5 hours, I believe. You can always find out what time the prelims start by going to the UFC Fight Pass website. So I'll show you a little trick. If you go to UFC.tv and then you go to grab your Fight Pass, I'm going to have to log in to actually show you. So if you go to UFC TV, log into your account, go to live events, find the event, Holloway versus Poirier 2. And then here, this countdown clock here will show you how long it is to go until the main card, I believe. But if you click this, it will give you a countdown to the very first fight, Fight Pass early prelims. So the fights start in 2 hours and 15 minutes at 11:15 p.m. US time, UK time. That's a little trick if ever you are questioning when the fights start. Let's keep going. Luke Stenson says, hang on a minute, if I skipped ahead a bit too far. So Stenson said Gastelum is a legit vet. He's elite at both welterweight and middleweight. He'd probably still be hovering at top 5 welterweight if it wasn't for him missing weight continuously. Yeah, maybe he's had favourable matchmaking though. He has had favourable matchmaking. The vast majority of his wins have come against guys way past their prime. And the skills I've seen from Gastelum inside the octagon don't blow me away. Rizla7, I agree with Luke. Gastelum is the real deal, fighting real top level guys. Yeah, alright. This is where wiki capping can get you into trouble, guys. If you look at win-loss records, Gastelum's record looks impressive. But if you look at the skills displayed in the octagon, he is not that impressive. So Joe Vocker said Kelvin hits harder and has faster hands. He does hit harder, I agree with you there. But then the shots that knock you out are the ones you don't see coming. And Adesanya throws such a wide range of strikes that he's very dangerous. Kelvin has faster hands. Not sure I agree with that, but we'll find out tonight. What I do know is that he may have fast hands, but to cover that 9-inch reach advantage is not going to be easy. So MT Soupcam, where can I live bet on MMA? What's the best site for it? So if you let me know what country you live in, mate, I'll be able to recommend the best site for where you live. Luke Stenson, Izzy is good, but Gastelum has been here. He's top 5 pound for pound. So Luke Stenson, you talking like someone that is basing your opinion on win-loss records. It can just get you into so much trouble, man. Do not form an opinion based on who someone's win. Do not base your opinion based on who a guy has beaten and who a guy hasn't fought. Base your opinion based on skills displayed in the octagon. And if we focus on skills displayed in the octagon, Gastelum is at a significant disadvantage everywhere. I really don't care who he's fought and who Adesanya hasn't fought. All comes down to the skills I see, and based on the skills I see, Adesanya is light years ahead of Gastelum. Alan Arango, listen people, the reach advantage, 100% mate. The size difference is a huge factor in this fight, as it is also it's also a factor in the Jalen Turner versus Matt Favola fight. We have weight classes for a reason. Go read the book Fightnomics. It breaks down in great detail in terms of stats how size can have an impact on the outcome of MMA fights. Generally speaking, the bigger the wingspan, the better a fighter. And realistically, if we really want to get into it, Gastelum should probably be fighting at lightweight for the wingspan that he's got. Just that he lacks the discipline to cut the weight to get down to there. Luke Stenson, Michael Johnson has amazing hand speed too. Gastelum hand speed is disgusting. It's very dangerous in the middleweight division. Yeah, Gastelum's got good hand speed, but it's easy to look fast and technical against 36 to 38-year-old fighters who have built a career on PEDs and are way past their prime. Not so easy to get inside on a 6'3" high-level technical kickboxer with a 9-inch reach advantage. Robert Burden, anyone use the website Bodog to bet on today's card in Canada? Please don't use Bodog, man. Rizzler 7, but that inch advantage could favour the small guy when trading the pocket, especially with Gastelum's hard and fast hands. Hope you're right, though. Back to the side. Yeah, he's got to get into the pocket, though, mate. He's got to get into the pocket. That is easier said than done. Because when he's in the pocket, he's only really got 2 weapons. Adesanya's got knees down the middle. He's got elbows. He's got straight punches. He's got the clinch. He's also got the footwork to circle out of danger. Alan Arango, Stylebender will pick apart small gas. I hope you're right, man. And then Alan Arango will be like when Gas faced Weidman. Yeah, he struggled in that fight for sure. Oh no, I've missed where I am. I've missed. Sorry guys, I've missed my place. Just going to try and get through these questions as fast as possible. Oh my god, I've missed where I am. Sorry guys. Sorry about this. The chat box has just loaded loads more questions. I came to the end and then tons more popped up. Right. Sorry about this, guys. Do you know what? I am going to have to miss some questions and just go from where I am. So if I've missed you out, guys, ask it again. And I will answer it. But I'm going to have to miss some questions because my chat box has just gone crazy. Piglord MMA, what's your opinion on consuming massive amounts of alcohol before live betting? Tends to work well for me. It don't work well for me, mate. It can get really expensive, so I definitely don't drink while I'm live betting. Robert Borden, hey man, I left you a comment. You replied saying you will help me find the website in Canada bet if you can help me out that way. Yeah, I've just answered that, so that's cool. Answered James Luco about the cardio. Kyle, any tips on multi-counting? Yeah, I said earlier on, mate, don't really want to get into that. It's not smart to create content like that because it's kind of like a grey area and everything. I would do your own research on that, man. Alan Arango, is KO Friday saying a good prop bet? Yeah, I think it is, mate. Rogansky has said, surely you think Boss of Sound has better hands? This boxing resume is great. He went 12 rounds of Errol Spence. Think he gets it done? Yeah, Rogansky's got better hands than Taha for sure, but this isn't a boxing match. It's an MMA fight. I think the better overall, more complete striker is Khalid Taha. So Joe Vok, Adesanya is the black version of Till. Don't believe the hype. You're absolutely wrong, mate. If you go on my website, you'll see that I bet on Masvidal. I tipped Masvidal. Masvidal was a great fight. I believe Darren Till has huge weaknesses that could be exploited by Jorge Masvidal, which is the reason why Bet Masvidal. I definitely don't buy into the hype on anyone, mate. I do my research, and based on my research, Adesanya is one of the best bets of the year. Pablo Escobar said, I enjoy your podcast, brother. Thanks a lot, mate. I enjoy your cocaine. Just kidding. I've never taken cocaine. I don't do drugs. Just kidding. Just kidding. Massiso, I made $200 on Grundy. Congratulations, man. That was a great bet. Grundy came through for us big time. Alan Arango said, Adesanya is the future. I agree, mate. I agree. I'm going to start scanning through the comments now, guys, and just answering the questions, because otherwise this video is going to be huge, and I'm hungry. I got to get some food in before this event starts in about 2.25 hours. So let's fly through these. So, Chris Nelson, the co-main event line keeps moving in favour of Kelvin. Yes, mate, you're right. So what happens, guys, this is pretty common, to be honest with you. So the majority of bets on an MMA event, or a UFC event in particular, will come in on the day of the fight, and more specifically the hours leading up to a fight. So what you often see on fight day is loads of casual money come in, loads of casual bettors, you know, the parlays, the fucking prop bets, everyone, all the casual bettors will place their bets in the hours leading up to an event, which means in the hours leading up to an event, you tend to see a lot of line movement. Now, what that means is if fighters are particularly hyped in the media, you will see their odds move a lot. So a lot of the media are giving Gastelum a legit chance of winning this. And that's the reason why you're seeing Gastelum odds decline and Adesanya's odds improve. Because the majority of casual gamblers like to bet underdogs simply because the payoff's better. So what you'll often see on fight day is the odds on the underdogs decline and the odds on the favourites improve. That is exactly the reason why we've seen Dwight Grant's odds go from being an underdog to a favourite. The casual gamblers just love betting underdogs. So this kind of line movement is very normal, to be honest with you. It's what I would expect to see in the hours leading up to the event, and it doesn't really mean anything at all. But that is just the explanation for that. Roadrunner, transitioning from poker to MMA, any similarities you've noticed? Bankroll management, cash game approach, DFS. That's a big question, mate. Do you know what? I actually came into betting on MMA from an online poker background, and I did base my entire money management ethos on how I used to do things on online poker. And the foundation for all my little systems that I use, all my principles is a better word than systems. The foundation for all my money management principles does come from online poker, but it's way too big of a question to answer in this video, mate. So what I would recommend next week, mate, if you've got some time, come into my chat room. I'm online like 7 or 8 hours a day. It's free. You can sign up for a free account, no problem. Just go community, enter public chat room, come here. I'm literally here for the chat room alone. I'm literally here for like 7 or 8 hours a day. So come to this website, and we'll just have a long discussion on it, mate. It's a really complex topic, a really, really big topic that I'd love to get into with you for sure, because I do think that if you've got an online poker background, that gives you a huge advantage when it comes to betting MMA and betting sports. I think that the reason why I think it's so beneficial to have an online poker background is because people that get into betting on MMA because they love MMA, a lot of them want to be the smartest guy in the bar. They want to stick their flag in the ground on one guy and they want to ride that guy into the fucking ground. They will go to the death with him. So for example, people that think Gastelum will win this fight, or they're really, really passionate about Gastelum winning, and they want to tell everyone that they think Gastelum will win, he's going to knock Adesanya out. But if you come from an online poker background or a poker background, you know that anything is possible. It doesn't matter how heavily the odds are stacked in your favour. You know that on any given hand, you can get wrecked. And it is it's a very powerful tool to come into sports betting, and particularly MMA betting, with that mindset. Because a lot of people, if they're betting on this Adesanya versus Gastelum fight, they fucking believe Adesanya is going to win, or they fucking believe Gastelum's going to win, and they won't listen to anyone else's opinions. Whereas when you come in with a poker mindset, you know that even if you've got a fucking flush going down to the river, there's always a chance someone could have that one card that would bust you with a straight flush. We've all taken those kind of crazy beats in poker. So by having the mindset that anything can happen will just make you a way more sharp better, because you won't be afraid of losing because you understand it's just a part of the game. And that's why I think you'll have a huge advantage with money management, with discipline, with betting logic, with everything, man. So I'd love to get into it with you in the chat room over that, no problem. So MT Soup Can, I bet in the UFC, so I've already answered this, mate. At 5 dimes, you can live bet in between rounds on televised prelim and main card fights, bet DSI during fights, and DraftKings Sportsbook, I think, during rounds as well. But I've never tried it. I've just got a few elite members that do it. Art Ogan, what about live betting for someone in California, US? Thanks, buddy. No problem, mate. I just answered that. Direction Warrior, live betting in the UK. The best site for live betting in the UK is Bet365. Robert Borden, the best website for live betting on UFC in Canada is also Bet365. Other good shouts are Paddy Power, LV Bet, William Hill, 888 Sport, Unibet. What else have we got? BetSafe, although the max bet limits are quite small. Coral, Ladbrokes. Take your pick. Darren Wright, is there any parlays or props including round betting or method victory you'd highly recommend? No, definitely not, mate. Definitely not. Prop bets are risky enough as they are. Prop bets are very risky. Parlays accumulators are very risky. When you put them together, it's just a fucking risk nightmare. 120 Naldo. Oh, could you break down your thought process when it comes to live betting? Yeah, I answered that a while back, man. It's just so complex. It's hard. It is really hard to get into it. It is really, really complex. It's a deep rabbit hole to go down. So Omar Ahmed 87, I hope I pronounced that correctly, mate. Imadeyev is a Russian striker. High pressure is managed by all, probably on the juice and probably decent cardio for 3 rounds. Yeah, I agree with you. He probably does have good cardio and toughness. Nathan Thompson, where did you find out Pantoja has a BJJ black belt? It's just, I don't know, mate. I've obviously been doing this a long time, and I would have discovered it in research one of his past fights. I'm pretty sure when Claudia Gadelha coached the Ultimate Fighter against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, I'm pretty sure that she brought Pantoja onto the show with her as her BJJ coach. But anyway, please don't question it. He's super high level. Poodle Man, hey to you as well, mate. Rizla7, last question from me. Would you feel comfortable in suggesting Muhammad and Adesanya double? You know, I think they both win, but like I just said, on any given night, anything can happen. Chetram Dioshand, what website is best to use in the USA? I believe BetDSI is the best. Yes, you can't live bet prelims, but the ability to live bet during rounds is a big deal. So that's why I think they're better. You can live bet during rounds for the main card. Coco, can you live bet on Bet365? Yes, you can. Bert, do you like Max Holloway to win by knockout or TKO? Yeah, I do, definitely, although those odds are shit at 1.72. Definitely wouldn't bet him at those odds. Nathan Thompson, where did you find out that Pantoja has a black belt? I think I've just answered that. I can't remember where I found it. Trust me, mate, he's a fucking very high level on the ground. He was definitely the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach at Nova União. He's fucking legit, trust me, man. Him and Josier Formiga were 2 of the coaches there. Tony Wattle, Samanor Taha, I take Taha, but I don't like it. Don't feel confident in him at all. Ash Cash Ready, you really think it's impossible that Poirier can get a submission? No, mate, no, not at all. I think it's very likely Poirier could get a submission if the fight goes to the ground, for sure. I'm just not sure how much success he's going to have getting the fight to the ground. Kyle, early prediction for Askren versus Masvidal. I do like Masvidal a lot in that fight. He's got very, very good takedown defense, as we saw in the Damian Maia fight. Born a bit, I like Max in round 4. Yeah, definitely like that bet, mate, definitely. Coco, he was ready to go against Khabib, so he must have trained some decent takedown defense. Yep. Okay. Nathan Thompson says, I didn't see a black belt in BJJ on Adesanya's record. No, I think he's a blue belt, mate. Do you think his ability to pop up like the floor is lava might not work? No, I think Gaslam's got a very, very low level ground game and he won't be able to hold Adesanya down. Alex Tinder, really enjoying your tips, mate. Do you ever get into difficulty withdrawing money from certain bookmakers? Who do you recommend to bet with in the UK on live betting? Do you bet live and exchange only? So I've never had a problem withdrawing money in 8 years. I've always managed to get my money out. I can never think. I've had hundreds of withdrawals over the last 8 to 10 years. I've never not got my money out of a site. They've always paid me out. Who do you recommend to bet with in the UK on live betting? Bet365 are the best by a mile. Do you bet live and exchange only? So there are a couple of exchanges like Betfair Exchange which let you live bet on the UFC, but their max bet limits are really small at the moment. So their max bet limits are between like £10 and £100. So it's just way too low to make a living on those kind of limits. So I just don't bother. But it could be a good option for you to start out there. Poodle Man, did you bet on a lot on Khabib when he fought McGregor? I didn't bet on Khabib to beat McGregor. I bet on the fight not to go the distance because it was around about the same odds. And the way I thought was if there was a chance Conor could get a win by KO, it made sense to bet the fight not to go the distance. It was similar odds on not distance and Khabib straight. And I just thought that betting not to go the distance kind of covered the possibility that Conor might land a flash KO. And also because that fight was such a high profile fight, they were higher than usual max bet limits and liquidity on those prop bets. Gino Backer, what's your typical split between pre-fight versus live bets? I'm not too sure what you mean by that, mate. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what you mean. Sorry, dude. Tucker H, I'm heavy on Randy Costa. What side are you on? Apologies if you already covered. I'm definitely on Brandon Davis, mate, only because a massive percentage of fighters lose when they make their pro debut. They make their UFC debut. So statistically, it is not. Statistically, Costa's a dangerous bet. Lidosis has said, is it possible to be a winner in multiple sports? Have your account still open? Yeah, definitely, mate. I've had. Obviously, every account, if you're making money, every account gets closed eventually. It's just inevitable. But if you're winning on multiple sports, you will still keep your account open longer. So Jack Hongir Jalalov, what's your long-term ROI? I don't know, to be honest, mate. ROI, I think, is a pretty pointless statistic. It's not something I measure. And again, that's controversial. A lot of people really care about ROI, but I think it's a pointless statistic. I will actually make some videos about this in the future, like literally dedicated to this topic, so I see so many people focus on ROI, but for me it's just not important at all. And this video is already over 2 hours long, so I'm conscious that this is a very deep rabbit hole for me to go down, and I'm not sure if I want to go down it. I have covered it in a live stream before, but basically I'm not going to go into it, but ROI is pointless. If I go into it, this video is going to be like 4 hours long. But then I can't leave it there. Oh my God. Okay, so the most important thing about growing money is compound interest, okay? Compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe, Albert Einstein said, although a lot of people said that he didn't, and it was just kind of like a made-up quote. But compound interest should be the only thing you care about when it comes to betting. Because if you focus on ROI, but you have a low win rate, if you're compounding your money, you could actually end up losing if you've got a good ROI. This might sound crazy to you, but someone with a 30% ROI could actually make less money than someone with a 5% ROI if their win rate is like 30% or 40%. Compared to someone with a win rate of like 65 to 70%. Because every time you lose, you have to make twice as much money back when you're compounding your profits. Whereas if you maintain a high win rate, over time, your money will gradually increase, which means it snowballs and you can bet more and grow your money into a much larger amount. So often when you see people with a high ROI, they've got a high ROI because they've got a lower win rate and they're placing way more bets, they're way more loose, they're placing prop bets, accumulators, the works, which means their win rate is much lower, which badly affects compounded interest growth. Now, I'll leave it there because it's a big topic, it's a controversial topic. Many people will disagree with me, but the many people that disagree with me don't pay their bills for money they make from gambling, and I fucking do. So I do know what I'm talking about on this. I've experimented with lots of different styles over the last 10 years. I know what works, I know what doesn't. Don't focus on ROI, it's pointless. I don't even measure it. So Adam Thompson, I put a small bet on point deduction prop for Callum versus Israel. Is he likes to poke eyes? Yes, good point, mate, especially with our range and how aggressive Gaslam is. Cameron Marshall, why do you get blacklisted? So you get blacklisted when you make too much money on a betting site and they basically severely limit your account. And if a lot of people that don't even believe that happens. If you don't believe it, fucking Google it. Google account limitations. There's thousands of people online talking about it. PK Boxing and MMA, you think Roundtree's takedown defense has improved enough to keep us standing longer with your boy? Depends what new skills he's come to the table. Trainer Tiger Muay Thai, Epic Phil said that he was just focusing on striking. If he does, I think he could be in trouble. But you know, if he improves his takedown defense slightly, it could be a tough fight for Anders. JB, do you ever bet with BTC to increase your BTC stack? Yes, I do. I deposit and withdraw money in Bitcoin to bet DSI, but not many betting sites, particularly in Europe, accept Bitcoin as a deposit and withdrawal method. So at the moment, I'm only using it on bet DSI. Nathan Thompson, okay. Cameron Marshall, hey, as a bit of advice, use a VPN when you go on these websites. They can't ban your computer. Guys, that is a very bad piece of advice. So, Cameron Marshall, I don't want to be a dick, but when you go on a betting website, again, this is such a deep rabbit hole to go down, and I don't want to go down it, or this video is going to be 8 hours long. I will make videos about this in the future, but never, ever use a VPN when using a betting website. Because if you use a VPN, betting sites know that you might be up to something, okay? And many betting websites put cookies and scripts on your PC that enable them to detect if you're using VPN software. And if you found to be using VPN software, it can result in your account being closed much sooner than it usually would be because they get suspicious. I'm not going to go into the specifics of how it works, or I'm just going to leave it there. Don't use a fucking VPN. Okay, Thomas, do you own a Nintendo Switch? I do. My son's got one. He's probably taken it out, actually, and they're probably sat in the car park somewhere with him playing on it. As they wait for me to finish this. I will wrap this up soon, actually, guys. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get through all these questions. I think we've still got loads and loads of questions to go. There's loads of questions to go. I just don't want this video to be crazy long, and I need to grab some food before this event starts. I'm fucking starving. It starts in about just under 2 hours. And Eric Stevens, nice to see you doing a live for Lock Stream, brother. Good luck today with your bet. Good luck as well to you, Eric, man. Eric as well, mate, I really appreciate you as well, mate. I always ask people to share the videos and stuff because it helps the channel grow, and hardly anyone does it. But I've seen loads of occasions, mate, where you've shared the videos and you've tagged me on Twitter and stuff, which helps loads, man. I really appreciate it, mate. I fucking shout out to you, man. I can't thank you enough, mate. Luke Stenson, over 1.5 rounds, 1.53 on Holloway Poirier fight. Yep, I like that. I do like it. Ryan, see Adesanya abusing calf and body kicks. I'm going to skip through the questions on Adesanya, Gaslam, Poirier and Holloway, guys, because I think we've covered that in quite a lot of depth now. Patrick G, thoughts on accumulators of fights not to go the distance? Not keen, mate, not keen. I don't like accumulators anyway, and I definitely don't like prop bets of accumulators. That is introducing an enormous amount of risk. So Poodle Man, hey, you didn't answer me before. I'm wondering if you put a big bet on Khabib. Okay, I answered that a little while ago. Rizzler7, Diary of Pro, how do I join the elite group thing, please? So if you want to join, I never promote this ever because, again, this video is going to get really long. But basically, the more... I'll take a deep breath before I get into this, like another long thing to say. So, basically, I share my live bets with a small group of people, and I also do fight commentary during the fights from a betting perspective, so that you can kind of start to learn the things that I look for when live betting. Like, I could never... So, like, the people that are asking for tips on live betting, I guess in some ways this service does give you tips because I commentate the fights from a live betting perspective, but again, you also, if you listen to that, you get to see the depth. Now, unfortunately, live betting on MMA is a low liquidity market, which means it's not as big as football or basketball or any of these other huge sports, which basically means the more people that try to place the same live bet at the same time, the faster the odds will become suspended or crash completely. So, for example, if I say on the live stream, live bet Eric Anders right now at odds of 2.0, which is plus 100, and loads of people jump on those odds, very soon his odds will decline down to like 1.50 minus 200, which isn't ideal. So to stop that from happening, I cap the number of people that I offer this service to 30 people, because it's just a nice small number, small group of us. We can just do our thing every Saturday night, stay under the radar, not affect the line movement too much. And as you can see, when I started this stream, there was only one membership available for tonight. And I think that probably has gone now. And I think by next week's Russia card, I probably would have sold out of elite memberships. So I'm not sure if you can join now. I know it's a bit of a dick move, but I have to keep the number of people that follow my live bets small, or it basically ruins the service for everyone, if that makes sense. And I think we probably passed 30 now. So I'm not sure if you'll be able to sign up. But what I will be doing is I will be sometime in the next few weeks. I mean, it's going to be busy now. We're flat out with UFC events every single week from like now till the end of May. Even if I have to shut down sign-ups to new members, in the next break in the UFC schedule, which I think is the last week of May, I'll create a waiting list where if you did want to try this out, I will obviously create a waiting list, and if people cancel or leave, that will open spaces up. But most of the people in this group, at least half the people in this group, have been with me for years now. So it is one of those things where when you get in, you don't tend to want to leave. But sorry for the shitty answer to your question, but I'm not sure if you are able to join now because I think the spaces might be full. But obviously I'm a fucking capitalist. I wish I could have 1,000 people buy this, but unfortunately it would just ruin it for everyone. So I can't, which is a bit annoying. But hopefully in time, liquidity on MMA betting will increase and I'll be able to open it up to more people, because with there being, a situation where they may legalize online gambling in the United States across all states, that would open the door for the major betting sites like William Hill, Paddy Power, Bet365, LV Bet, Ladbrokes, Coral, 888 Sport, Unibet. All these sites start offering their services to customers in the United States, which would bring a flood of liquidity, a flood of money into the live betting UFC markets. And that would mean, liquidity would go up and I'd be able to increase the amount of elite members I can have. But I don't like to talk about this stuff too much on these videos. I mean, I never have before because I just don't like to shill this. Don't like to shill things I'm selling because this is running at capacity now. It's pointless. Okay, so Socrates. Hey, not sure if I missed out, but what site do you use? Yeah, I think I've answered that a lot. I Raid Zombies, everything you're getting a job in the MMA media, you think you'd be a great addition? I haven't, mate, to be honest with you. Honestly now, I'm not exaggerating. To research an entire UFC card literally takes like 30 to 50 hours, and then on fight day, I'm doing fight commentary throughout the entire card for like 6 to 8 hours. My only day off for the week is like a Sunday. And then I spend most of the time in bed anyway because the UFC events go on to like 6 a.m. So I don't think that I would have the time to do it. But I'd love to do some podcasts and stuff. That'd be pretty cool. Patrick G, this guy must be joking. £200 a month for an elite membership. Fair enough, mate. It's a lot of money. Look, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want this to turn into a fucking debate over this. But all I would say is, I'm just going to say, do a quick calculation. And I'm not trying to sell you on anything because there's no spaces available. By the next event, all the space will be gone. But I do hate people that say shit like that because you have no fucking idea what value you get out of the information I give. So how the fuck can you judge it? All I will say is $200 a month. And since you want to work in pounds, it's actually £150 times 12. That comes to £1,800 for a yearly subscription. I guarantee, I shouldn't say this because of all the gamble responsible laws and all that shit. But what I will say is, based on the 5 years this website has been open, if you were to start with £500 to £1,000 and you were to pay £1,800 worth of membership fees, I would bet my fucking house on the fact you would end up with a hell of a lot more than £1,800 at the end of the year. And you only have to start with like £500 to £1,000. I'm not trying to sell you on it. I'm not trying to justify anything. But please don't fucking discredit what I do because you think it's too expensive. It ain't too fucking expensive. It's one of the best fucking investments you could ever make. And if you don't believe me, jump in the chat room right now on my website and ask people who are already members and they'll fucking tell you themselves. Right. What reasons people have against Bovada? Bovada don't offer live betting, mates. That's why they're not a very good betting site. Or they don't offer live betting on UFC. Rare says, have you ever had to give someone a 3-piece with a soda? Only when I worked in KFC. I'm joking. No, I've never had to. Never have to, mate. Nat Nail Canal, which site do you recommend for high-level betting, such as betting 10 to 15k on a single bet? My friend, this is a tricky question, mate. This is a tricky question. If you were to deposit £50,000 or $50,000 into Bet365 and tried to bet 50k on one fighter, you would be shut down within 2 weeks. So the answer to your question is you need to be smart. It's a very, very complicated question that I can't answer here because it will literally, again, this video will be 8 hours long. So if you are a serious guy, you want to be betting that kind of money, hit me up on my chat room sometime next week and I'll talk you through the best way to do it. But you definitely can't get that kind of money down on one site. You'll get shut down too fast, win or lose. Raffaello 6198, you make good money with betting? Yeah, I could not make the same amount of money if I were to go get like a job. I'm not a millionaire at all, but I am more comfortable than if I were to do the kind of jobs that I used to do. I earn more than most people earn from a day job. Rat Poodle, so if Bovada is not in the top 30, what would be your top 5 betting sites? Top 5, Bet365, William Hill, Paddy Power, LV Bet, and Ladbrokes. Rudy Frosto made an account. How do you get to chat? All you do, mate, go to community, then chat rooms. And then I'll actually stop it there, but it'll be on that page. Think you'd be surprised? It says, oh no, the chat's updated again. It's gone. Guys, might have to call this. Oh no, we're almost there. Actually, we're almost at the bottom. What I'll do, guys, I'll call this a day in half an hour. Whatever happens, if I don't answer everyone's questions, I'm really sorry. I will call it a day at 10 p.m. UK time, which is 28 minutes from now. Just so I've got to grab some food before the event starts, or I'm going to starve to death, or I'll be delirious and I'll end up losing fucking thousands making bad bets. I need to binge eat because it's going to be a long night. Joe Blaylock, enjoying your breakdowns. What's your thoughts on parlays? Yeah, I've answered that as well, mate, earlier on. I don't like parlays at all. Ray A, Israel has been knocked out once in over 100 fights, never rocked in UFC, but people are saying he has a suspect chin. Ray, I know, man, it's crazy. It is crazy. A guy in the comments said that Israel's got a bad chin, and I looked into his pro boxing record, his kickboxing record, and in MMA. In some like 60 pro fights, he's been KO'd twice. Just people just say stupid shit. T-Carp 2034 had Masvidal TKO at plus 450. Great bet, mate. I love that. Congratulations, man. Bolts G3 is betting on Turner correct because it's free money. Yeah, Turner's definitely not free money, mate. His takedown defense and ground game's definitely suspect. The TJ Router 4, would you fight Brock Lesnar for $1 million? 100%, mate. I would turtle up like a bitch as soon as the fucking bell went, and I would tap the canvas and take that money. 100%. 100%. Just hopefully I would tap out fast enough for him to not even be able to do anything to me, because he would fuck my world up bad. Rizza7, just noticed the Telegram group you have. Is that, yeah, anyone can join my Telegram group. The Telegram group, I basically use it for like research updates throughout the week. So if you go back to any of my YouTube videos, there's a link to Telegram in the description of every YouTube video. And the kind of stuff I post in there is kind of like, say for example, I spot something interesting a fighter has said in a Fight Week interview, or I spot something interesting on Instagram. I basically post that content there just because sometimes, I mean, it's not enough to make a video about it or an article about it, but it's significant. So I just share all like little tiny nuggets of information on Telegram with people. So you could join that. Anyone can join it. Just go to the, you can find the link in any of the past YouTube vids. I think you'd be surprised, said potential matchup between Rockhold and Anthony Smith. Who do you think has it? If you would have asked me before the John Jones fight, I would have said Luke Rockhold would destroy Smith, just because Smith's takedown defense has looked terrible in the past. But Smith's takedown defense was excellent against John Jones, which I think changes everything, because Anthony Smith's boxing is way, 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 way better than Rockhold's, and Rockhold fights with his hands very low. Most of Rockhold's striking all centers around his kicks, so I definitely favour Anthony Smith if they were to fight. But God bless the John Jones fight for helping us feel confident in his takedown defense now. Cap has said, what do you think of Max versus Conor 2? I think if Max and Conor fought now, I think Max would get it done for sure. His volume, the pace, he's kind of like a technical Diaz. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not criticising Diaz, but their striking technique is a little bit sloppy. His striking defence isn't the best. Holloway's got the cardio, the pressure, he can put a pace on you, and he's also got the technique as well, which would make him a nightmare for Conor. So Niall Cano has said, what's the best max site? I think he means, so he said what's best max bet. So the site with the highest max bet limits is Bet365, but they will shut your ass down very fast if you just jump in there with a boatload of money and start max betting stuff. 120 Naldo O. So an example from last card of live betting would be Ben Aguilar after he stuffed a couple of Barboza's takedowns early. Spot on, mate. That's exactly how it works. Yep. Spot on, mate. That's a great example. And I actually did live bet Aguilar after he stuffed the first few takedowns. What's the best high level gambling site? 20k a bet. Depends on the betting market, to be honest with you. If you tried to bet 20k on Bet365 on tonight's fights, you probably wouldn't be able to. I think the max bet limits are probably around about £11,000 to £12,000 on a lot of the favourites, and probably like £5,000 to £6,000 on a lot of the underdogs. To bet 20k on a fight, you'd have to split your money up across multiple different betting websites. Auto Roadrunner. Yeah, no worries, mate. See you in the chat next week, mate. Tran. Yeah, I've covered the Belal fight a lot, mate. If you go and watch I think it was part 2, the breakdown video, part 1 or 2, I spoke about the Belal fight a lot. Adam Thompson, I'm not a hater. I know this is a tough gig, but I think this guy's going to have a bad night. Maybe, man, it might happen. You know what I mean? I might get absolutely wrecked. You never know what will happen. Auto Roadrunner, no idea you had a poker background. Makes sense why I gravitated towards your channel. The way you think things through just seems to make more sense to me than other predictors. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it, mate. Poker's a big advantage, I think. Drexen Warrior. I like Max. You don't think that Poirier's fight IQ has improved over the last 1-2 years and his heavy hands might cause a problem? Yeah, Poirier's no joke, man. He's no joke. I just think Max's striking's at a different level. Poirier's fight IQ has improved, but he still gets hit a lot. He still takes a ton of damage. And Drexian Warriors also asked why we were at Google. So just basically Google like do workshops and stuff where you can go and learn about like content creation and how to like build online businesses. And like I said at the beginning of this video, like right at the very beginning, I like to use gambling as like my cash cow, MMA betting as my cash cow to make money, and I like to take that money and put it into other things like, you know, crypto, investments, businesses, whatever. And I'm just trying to learn as much as I can about creating online businesses to try and branch out so that not all my money's coming from online gambling. You know, one of the reasons why I set this YouTube channel up is because I've literally like maxed out the number of elite members I've got. Can't have any more, can't make any more money from my website, can't make any more money from gambling because the max bet limits are what they are. So to branch out now, I'm just trying to do different things. So I just went to Google, so I had a week off, so it'd be cool to see their headquarters, that type of thing, just learn some stuff. It wasn't that great though, to be honest with you. Most of that stuff can just be found out online. So the TJRTERUREU, I can't pronounce the username, sorry mate, but you said if you have a £25,000, so if you have $25,000 or pounds in the bank, which I also need to live on, would it be a smart move to start betting MMA under your tips? No, mate, definitely wouldn't be smart if you need that money to live, because at any point in time, you can have a long losing streak, you'd have a rough patch, and you wouldn't want to lose a significant chunk of that money if you needed to pay the bills. What I would say would be smart is if you were to take a percentage of that you're willing to lose, that you're willing to like put aside and try and grow it into a much larger amount and use that as your bankroll. So if you had 25k, you know, 5k would probably be a smart investment. I would split that up across multiple different websites, and I think, yeah, you'd make a pretty decent profit long term. But it's all long term. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. I might lose every bet tonight and get wrecked over the next 6 months. Long term, over the next 10 years, I'm confident I'll crush it. But in the short term, you should never put yourself at too much risk. Only ever gamble while you can afford to lose. Oh no, the chat has jumped loads. We're going to try and get through as many of these questions in 20 minutes. Angry Posh Gamer said, best $200 you'll ever spend. Look at his record, amazing value. Thanks a lot, mate. I really appreciate it. I really, really do. I think the record is one of those things where, like, it does look too good to be true. But again, it's a deep topic to get into, right? But if... Basically, the reason why live betting is so profitable, the reason why $200 is like fucking peanuts, is because it all comes down to compound interest and win rate. In live betting, you can maintain a much higher win rate than you can in pre-fight betting. Just think about it, guys. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. Think about it from what you could potentially do live betting yourself. Think about this, right? There are so many things that can happen outside of our control that can affect how a fight plays out. Let's use Israel Adesanya as an example, because everyone's really invested in this fight tonight. Adesanya might have had a brutal weight cut. He might have been sick during fight week. He might suffer from nerves and anxiety on fight day. He might be coming into this fight with a broken rib, a broken hand, a broken foot. And no amount of research is going to help us know that, which means he could be at a significant disadvantage tonight and lose. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of the game. That's why they call it gambling. Fighters underperform a significant amount. Like, fighters underperform a very high percentage of the time because they kill themselves in training. You know, training's brutal. They're open to injuries. They deplete their bodies to make weight, which means their immune system's weakened. They're more prone to catching infections and viruses during fight week. Stress and anxiety is out of control. They don't get paid very much, so they've probably got to work a full-time job, and they've got fucking pressure from their family and their wife to pay the bills, but they don't earn anything from fighting, and blah, 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 blah. All these things can have a massive impact on how a fight plays out. Boston Salmon hasn't fought in 2 years. He's only had 6 pro fights. How the fuck has he been supporting himself? Who knows what challenges outside of the cage he's facing coming into the fight tonight? All these things you have to think about that can affect how a fight plays out. So when you bet on someone before a fight takes place, you are taking a huge risk, because all these things can mean your money is dead in the water before the fight even starts. Whereas with live betting, you can see how the first few minutes unfold. You can see if the fighter looks sharp, if they're moving how you expect them to, how's their cardio holding up, how's their technique holding up. And that enables you to just take a huge element of risk out of betting, and enables you to have a much higher win rate over the long term, which is the reason why we absolutely crush it. And I know the results look too good to be true, but they fucking are what they are, guys. I've been here for 5 years. You go online, there's no one that can back me up for being a scammer with evidence. You won't find anyone that can present evidence. And if you go in my chat room any time of day, in any time zone, you'll see guys that have been with me for years. They'll back up everything I'm saying. It's just, it is what it is. It really is what it is. You can make a lot of money live betting. And my slots are full, man. My slots are full, right? I buy the UFC Russia card. I won't be able to take any more elite members. But get into it, man. Get into it, because you can make a lot of money. It changed my life. Get into it for yourself. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to take your money. Learn it yourself, because there's money to be made in this game, I promise you. Chuan Tran. Easy to claim a winner when you don't show your slips pre-fight. Come on, bro. Like I haven't heard that 1,000 times. Oh my God, bro. Mate, seriously, bro. Seriously? Do you honestly think I have time to produce a 40-minute to 1 hour video 4 days a week if I'm fucking secretly doing a day job or secretly on some other hustle? Come on, bro. Use your loaf. And don't worry, I tell you what, I have got some content coming for you doubters. Don't worry. When I start to get some accounts limited, I will be documenting it. Don't worry. We will see some YouTube videos coming out in the next few months where I show my betting accounts limited, and I will show you how dirty these betting sites are. I will show you how fast they limit you when you start making money. I will show you guys. Don't worry, that content's coming. Since I set the channel up, I haven't had any betting accounts limited, but a few are getting close. When they get limited, when they get closed down, don't worry, I'll show you, man. You will see some slips. Don't worry about that. They're coming. Do not worry. I got you. Thomas, do you like WWE? No, I used to, mate. I used to when I was a kid, but I don't watch it anymore. Happened to die, said Chris is the man, he speaketh the truth. Thanks a lot, mate. I really appreciate it. Steve Donner, no need to reply, but I just have been following you for insight. I consider myself a good bettor, but this has been the craziest MMA betting year for me in the past 10 years. Many thanks. Nice one, Steve. Thanks, mate. I hope you crush it tonight, mate. Angry Posh Gamer, any coupon code for the site? I'm buying something. Dude, it's tricky for me to do a coupon code now. It really is, because we're an hour and a half away from the event, and I think all the elite memberships are sold out, dude. But if there's any left next week, I will hook you up for sure. Don't worry about it, dude. But I don't know if there will be. It's a bit of a crazy time for me, to be honest with you, dude. MMA all day has said, God, this chat thing's glitchy. Sorry guys, I think I'm almost at the bottom. I've lost another load of questions, guys, because the chat box is glitched out. I'm really sorry. When I basically get to the bottom, it loads tons more, and then it loses which position I was in, which is really annoying. What chance does so MMA all day said, what chance does Max have against Khabib? We'll find out tonight, man. We'll see where his takedown defense looks like against Poirier. Thomas, what chance do you think Liverpool have to win both the Champions League and the Premier League? Oh man, I don't know. Liverpool were looking on fire at the beginning of the season, but they're struggling to break teams down over the last few months. So I think they could find it tricky, especially when they come up against, you know, potentially a team like Barcelona that are really good at maintaining possession, that don't give you many opportunities to score. You know, Liverpool haven't been creating many chances, and I think against a team like Barcelona, who keep the ball a lot, they might really struggle. I Raid Zombies, do you have an Instagram? I do, mate. Instagram, basically, you are not allowed to post any gambling related content on Instagram, so it's quite boring to follow me on Instagram. I never use it, to be honest. I've had like 3 accounts banned for posting gambling stuff. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Chris Allsop Invest, and I think there's a link to that in the videos as well. If you go back and watch my other videos, I think you can find a link to my Instagram there. I think we got to the end, guys. I think I've just answered everyone. No, I haven't. There's more. Oh, no, there is. We did it. It's the end. I like Turtles XXX. Big fan of you, bro. I want to get in touch with you and pick your brain. Seem like a very smart guy. Nice one, mate. I love the Turtles as well, bro. I love the Turtles. I was a big fan when I was a kid. Yeah, anytime. Literally. Like, look. Like, I have to cap the elite members at 30 people. It just is the way it is. But I'm like in the chat room all week, 7-8 hours a day. So if ever you guys need any help or advice, I'm in there. Like, these videos would just be crazy long if I went into depth on all these questions. But I can chat for ages in the chat room. It's no problem at all. Anytime, guys. Adam Thompson betting Kelvin, Wilson and Grant by KO. Good luck, mate. Blue FM. Sounds like you have skills. Folks giving you props. Thanks a lot, mate. Really appreciate it, dude. Lee Dosis. Hey, Lee Dosis, man. Lee Dosis, one of my elite members. We got a crush it tonight. I think Lee's been with me since about... Did Lee join in August or September, I think? It was rocky at first, man. We, towards the end of last year, didn't do great. Kind of like up and down. But then we've been crushing it beginning of this year. 2019 has been huge. So I think Lee had a rough start, but he hung in there, and he's gonna reap the rewards now, man. Definitely gonna reap the rewards. Okay, Raffaello 6198. How often your bets are accurate? You seem to be very smart and a good analyst. Cheers, mate. I really appreciate it. So I don't track that many metrics. I gotta be honest with you guys, right? I'll be completely honest with you. When I get asked questions about like win rate and ROI and stuff, I can't answer the questions because I just don't care, if I'm honest with you. Like, the only thing I care about is that I make enough money to pay the bills. Like, I only care about making money from gambling. And the stats, basically the stats take time for me to keep track of. And I just don't have the time. Like, it's hard enough for me to keep a website up to date, do YouTube videos, and research all the fights, and have a young family. Do you know what I mean? Like, I work 6 days a week. To track all stats and stuff, it's just wasted time. I just don't think it's that important. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is money in the bank. So I don't know what my win rate is. Like, a few years ago, before Capitech.com got filled up with loads of scammers, I used to track every single bet on there. And back then, like, back in like 2015, 2016, my win rate was winning around 65 to 66% of bets, but I don't know what it is anymore. I have no idea what it is now. I just don't track it. I don't. And I don't really put my bets on third-party sites or anything that often. Like, I try to, but I just forget, and I just can't be bothered. There's no need for me to do it. It's wasted time. I would much rather spend the time that I'm not focusing on research and doing important stuff to, like, play on the PlayStation or something, or watch Game of Thrones. So stats, I can never really talk too much about specific metrics, which I know is a really shady thing to say, but I just don't care. I really don't care. For me, it's all about money in the bank. Sherman Chandler, by the way, you can do a parlay calculator in best fight odds. It adds up the odds itself when you switch to parlay mode. Oh, nice one, mate. I didn't know that. Boom. Oh, cheers, mate. That's handy. Nice one, Sherman. Cheers, mate. That is quality, mate. Appreciate that. Angry Posh Gamer just signed up. Thanks a lot, mate. Really appreciate it. I hope we can kick things off with a win for you. What I would say, mate, is at the beginning of the video, I said that I think you had to go because it was an emergency. But at the beginning of the video, I said that you have to bet in live betting a very different way to regular betting. So the way you the way you make money in live betting is very different to how you make money from traditional betting. So because there's only like an hour and a bit before this event starts, I haven't got enough time to get into it with you now. But basically tonight, mate, just jump in the audio stream, listen to the audio, tail all the live bets, just basically figure out how it all works, ask any questions you want in the chat box you'll find on the live betting page. Just like do all that stuff. And then next week, DM me on the website. If you just come here, you just find my name. I'm online all the time. Just DM me. And then once you've seen how everything works, I'll basically like talk you through ways you can make a lot more money in live betting. Because if you live bet using the same kind of like bankroll management principles that everyone preaches online about, like 1% equals, or 1 unit equals 1%, it'll take you a long time to grow your money. Live betting, there's a different way you can do things to make money quite fast, like grow your money quite fast. But best to see how everything works first logistically, and then when I talk you through like the ways, the techniques you can use, it'll make a lot more sense. So we'll get into that next week, man. Just be sure to DM me, mate, and I think you will. I think you're gonna like it a lot, even if tonight's shit. Hopefully, even if we get wrecked tonight and it's shit, I think what tends to happen is, even if your first event is shit, you can usually see the potential, even though things might not go our way. So fingers crossed you'll like it, man. I am sure you will. Derek Lebnon, love your vids, man. You're a legend. What single fight was your biggest win? So my biggest ever win, nothing fancy at all, man. My biggest win was on Stipe Miocic to beat Francis Ngannou, simply because I work in compound interest. That's just basically the way it works. And my money situation from betting goes through cycles. So for example, I'll build money up on a betting account, it'll get closed down, I'll withdraw that money, put another small amount of money into another betting account, build it back up, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And for whatever reason, for the Stipe Miocic Francis Ngannou fight, one betting site in particular hadn't limited me as fast as they usually would, and they let me build up a giant account balance on this betting website, so that when Stipe Miocic was starting to take over and Ngannou was starting to slow down, I think Miocic was around about a 1.70 favourite, and I just had a huge amount of money in an account balance to like dump it all on Miocic, or not all of it, but dump a big percentage of it on Miocic. So that was my biggest winner. Can't remember how much it was. I think it was about £12,000, which in MMA betting is a lot of money because the liquidity is really low. There's not that much money actually in the sport. Like the max bet limits don't tend to get that high, but for whatever reason, I think it was because of high profile fight, there was more liquidity, higher max bet limits than usual. Lidosis, you're the man, dude. Much love, thanks, mate. Raffaello, wow, 60 to 70%. That's impressive considering it's MMA betting. It's definitely higher than 60. It's not as high as 70. I'm pretty sure it's between 65 to 67%. I can't exactly remember though. Lidosis, non-betting question. What games you enjoy playing? To be honest, mate, I very rarely get a chance to play video games, but at the moment, basically, I love video games like with a storyline, but I never get to play them because like I spend so much time working that it's annoying. Like I've been playing God of War for like the last year. It's only a 12-hour campaign, but I literally haven't spent 12 hours in front of a PlayStation to play it. So I'm still like every like month or so I'll get like 2-3 hours that I can play it and work a little bit further into the story. But it's annoying because by then you forget all the controls, all the moves, you forget the storyline. It's just not as good. So I just stick to playing stuff like FIFA and The Division and Fortnite, which don't have a storyline. Like if I've got a spare half an hour here and there, I can easily just chuck it on, jump in, have a casual play, and then go back to work, which is shit. Like I love games with deep storylines. But I just don't get the hours in the day to play them, which is annoying. Blue FM, I backtracked and heard your PC banded an old fat. What comp you have, and which suggests everything on my iPhone but have. Man, any PC is okay. The only thing I would really say about PCs is if you're going to get a new PC or a laptop, make sure it's got a solid state hard drive, because if you're live betting on MMA, it's really important to get your bets in very, very quickly, as soon as possible. And if you've got any kind of like browser lag or system lag from having a traditional hard drive, it could potentially result in you missing an opportunity to place a bet. So solid state drive is probably the most important thing I'd recommend. So Joe Blaylock has said, who do you like in Jose Aldo versus Alexander Volkanovski? So initially, I loved Jose Aldo, and I was planning to bet Aldo huge because Aldo's got home advantage. He's basically impossible to take down, and he's an absolute nightmare standing. And it's a 3-round fight, so the chance of Aldo slowing down significantly are unlikely. Aldo's got an advantage everywhere. Problem is, Aldo has been having a lot of problems in the run up to this fight. He's had bacterial infections. He's been in hospital. He's had all kinds of issues. So at one point, it was talk that he might have to pull out of the fight. He might still have to pull out of the fight. So we have no idea what kind of impact that's going to have on his training. So I'm probably going to pass on that one. Aldo should dominate, but those illnesses and injuries are a bit of a concern. MMA all day, thoughts on Lyoto Machida versus Chael Sonnen? I think that's free money bet, mate. I think Machida dominates. Chael Sonnen doesn't have the wrestling to take him down or the striking to hurt him standing. I think Machida's free money, but he'll probably be a giant favourite, like 1.20 to 1.30, something like that. Carrot Surprise, love your channel, so glad I found it. Can I ask how you think the OSP fight will go? I think that OSP will come out. He will be very tentative. He will try not to engage. And then 2-3 minutes into the first round and 2-3 minutes into every round, he'll commit all his energy to shooting a really deep double leg takedown to try and steal the round and put Krylov on his back. I think the most likely outcome is OSP by submission. Steve Donner, go get yourself some food, brother. Thanks a lot, mate. I am going to wrap this up now, guys. Only 3 questions left to go, which I'll get through, and then I might go get a doner kebab. Who knows, man? Who knows? It's pretty much... I'm going to have to eat something shitty because it's 10 p.m. So whatever I eat's going to be unhealthy at this time. And then Derek Glenn, oh, what about Stipe, man? Ironically, mine was DC 9-4 and real price. Oh, yeah, that's a good bet, mate. Dosis, what are your favourite books, betting and non-betting related? So one book I would recommend, I don't recommend any betting books at all, because just my personal opinion is, in order to make money in betting, you have to devote an incredible amount of time to research, and basically writing books is a terrible way to make money. There's just no money in it. They take a fucking long time to write, and then the profit margins are super small. So I've always thought that if you write a book on gambling, if you write a book on gambling, you're probably not the best gambler because you should be focusing on research. Now, that's different for online poker because obviously once you've established a set of skills and an understanding of the mathematics behind poker, that's completely different. I get why guys would write a book to create an additional revenue stream, just like I created my website. That's completely different. But if you're looking for sports betting books, I think people should be focusing on researching the sports they bet rather than writing books. But the best book that I would recommend, a book that I learned a lot from on both money management, investing and betting, is this book by Ray Dalio. So Ray Dalio is one of the most successful investors of all time, and he wrote this book called Life and Work. So basically, Ray Dalio's got kids and grandkids, and he's now in his 80s, and he has built up like a wealth of knowledge throughout his life. You know, in his 30s, he was bankrupt, he was struggling for money, he was out on his ass. And over the course of his life, over the 80 years he's been around, he has learned a lot, and he wants to pass all that wisdom on to his kids and his grandkids. But because it's so much wisdom, it's hard to like communicate all this to them. So he thought instead of doing it that way, he would write a book for them. So this book is absolutely priceless. It's basically you get a billionaire genius's entire life's experience in a book. And it's interesting because he made his money from venture capital and investing. And he talks all about investing and investing in the markets like it's betting. So if you were to buy stocks and shares in a company, he would actually talk about it in this book that he's betting on that company. And a lot of the stuff in this book really applies to betting. Only the first half. The first half is about life and investing. The second half is about people management. So only the first half of this book would be useful if you're interested in learning more about gambling. But this book is brilliant because you know what I just said about gamblers. Like, why the fuck would someone that gambled on sports have time to write a book? It's the opposite for this guy. If a billionaire finds the time to write a book, like, you better fucking read that book, man, because he didn't have to. There's a bunch of other stuff a billionaire could be doing than writing a book. Do you know what I'm saying? So this book's legit. It's amazing. I love it. So definitely check that out. Orgil Atlansuk, what do you think about betting on both outcomes? Imagine your pure winnings might be lower, but overall the risk is lower. Yeah, man, it can work for sure. It can work. It's just hard to get to win enough money to make it worthwhile from that system. So, guys, it is gone past 10 p.m. there, so I am going to call it a night. I'll just scan through, see if I can answer some of these quickly. So Christian Brandt, good to see you, man. Good to see you. So Christian Brandt said he was previously an elite member. Nice to see you crushing it on YouTube. Keep up the good work, man. Love it. Thanks a lot, mate. Love you too, mate. And thanks for the support, mate. I hope you're still crushing it, even, you know, even by yourself, man. I hope you're killing it. I hope you're killing it, mate. Did you bet someone today except Israel and Bilal? I've bet OSP as well as those two. What do you think about betting on Davis? I don't like a bet on Davis. Just as his first fight at bantamweight, dropping down from featherweight, and we don't know anything about Randy Costry. He's a complete unknown. Akash ready. What was his prop bet on Bilal? I think it is Bilal to win by knockout or TKO. Derek Lebnon, thanks for everything and all the insight. Let's care tonight. Thanks a lot, mate. I really appreciate it, dude. Hope you crush it as well, man. Rizzler 7, how long are the rounds in the co-main event? So the rounds are 5 minutes, so it's a 25-minute fight. So the co-main and the main are going to be 25 minutes long. All the other fights will be 15 minutes. Which fight? Raffaello 6198, which fight did surprise you the most? I'm not too sure, mate. I'm not too sure. That's a good question. Not sure. You kind of get numb to things a little bit after you've been doing it for so long. Do you know what? I do have an answer for that. The fight that surprised me the most was when Weidman knocked out Anderson Silva in the first fight. You know, if Weidman were to win that, I thought back then that it would be due to wrestling. I never, ever, 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 ever thought that Weidman would be able to knock out someone like Anderson Silva, who back then was devastating. Lee Dosage, you're too nice, dude, answering all these questions. Please get yourself some food. Yeah, good advice, mate. Thanks, mate. I definitely need to take your advice. Oh shit, Orgil's trying to shit me up. Is there really someone in the window? I live in a nice neighbourhood. I hope not. But it's probably the neighbours thinking, what's that lunatic doing with his windows wide open talking to a computer screen? Piotr Drozik. Is there someone in the window, guys, for reals? Like, are you fucking with me? Are you literally fucking with me? Is there someone in the window? Is there someone in the window? Let's go take a look. Right, I'm gonna end this now, and I'm gonna go outside and see if there's anyone in the window. I have to check. Thank God, Iggle, you're giving me a fucking heart attack, man. I thought there was some crazy clown or something behind me in some scary mask or some shit. My heart is beating right now. Seriously. Jay Kessel, yeah, I've bet OSP, Izzy, and Bilal. Yeah. Yeah, so Piotr Drozik, how much you putting on the table when you play live? What is your bankroll? So again, mate, I do things really differently. I don't have a bankroll. I haven't had a bankroll for years. The way I do things is I basically have never in 8 years had to reload a betting account ever. It just hasn't happened. I know it sounds crazy, but an account balance has never gone to zero. So what I tend to do, put money into a betting account. I bet on that betting account until it gets closed down or limited. Then I withdraw. I take that money, put a little bit of that money into a new betting account, take the rest of the money and then put it into something else, like an investment, crypto, fucking book a holiday, buy a car, whatever. That's how I work. So I don't have a bankroll as such. But if ever there was a case that I had a prolonged losing streak, which hasn't happened in 10 years, but if I had a really long losing streak and the accounts that I was using at that time got wrecked and went to zero, there's money in other places that I could grab hold of from like crypto or investments, you know, things like I could sell my car because obviously as a pro gambler, I can't get credit. No, I can't get car finance, anything like that, so I have to buy everything outright. So if I really needed to like fund new accounts, I could just sell my car, I could sell some crypto, that kind of thing. So I don't have a bankroll. It's one of these things, guys, right, where when you read online, everyone talks about unit size and ROI and fucking bankroll management and all this sort of stuff. But in the day-to-day real life, like in the day-to-day of it, all that shit's just irrelevant. It really is irrelevant. It's just all about making money, paying your bills, trying to grow, trying to like grow the money into bigger amounts, doing different things. That's really all it is. You know, it would make no sense to have a fixed bankroll. Because if you think about it, say my bankroll was like $200,000, right? Say it was 200K. Well, that would be so dumb just to have $200,000 sat around doing nothing, where you could use that money and put it into crypto, into investments. You could buy cars, which could appreciate in value, properties, businesses. Do you know what I mean? Why have all that money just sat in a bank account or a betting account when you're not using the majority of it? It's pointless. So when you hear people talk about bankrolls and that, it's just really a bit of a pointless concept for me. Like, as long as you've got money to place bets with, and as long as you're not at risk of really impacting your life if you have a bad run, to the point where if I had a bad run, I'd have to sell my house, I'd have to move to a smaller house, I'd have to sell my car, all that kind of stuff. That's when it gets dangerous, but I'm nowhere near that position. Nowhere near. Right. Rodrigo said, yeah, I do think Curtis, Melenda and Belal's got a chance to go the distance. And that is it for today, guys. Like that, I don't know how long that is, but that was long as fuck. My wife and kid have already come home and gone back out again. But I'm going to go and have some food now, recharge my batteries and get ready for tonight. So thanks if you've watched this whole thing, guys. I don't know why you would want to sit here and listen to me chat shit for 3 hours. But fingers crossed you crush it tonight. And I will be back. I've already researched 2 fights for UFC Russia, so I should get part 1 of the next video out on Monday. So nice one, guys. Have a good night. I hope you absolutely crush it tonight. Hope you absolutely smash it, unless you bet on Gaslam. Just kidding. I will see you guys on Monday. Take care, everyone.